Hey guys, welcome back. Thank you for tuning in. Today is our first episode of Science Slumber Pals, a show where we have guests on, and unfortunately Candace cannot be here with us, but I am joined today by my good friend Michael David Archer. Dr. Michael David Archer, Esquire, the third, MD Senior. Some of those words aren't true, but I'm going to leave you to figure out which ones aren't. He is known on the internets as Lockfield Gardner, and you can just tell us where the fuck you find that, like what handles.
What do you mean by handles?
like do you have like Twitter or anything like?
I do have all of the things. But you can find me Lockfield Gardner on Instagram because
You post a lot of really cool photography on there.
And none of it's mine.
Oh, really?
Well, I shouldn't say none of it's mine, but a good chunk of it is.
See, I never would have guessed that. That's cool, though.
Well, okay. A lot of the nature pics I post are mine because I go hiking all the time.
Uh-huh.
But like the stuff where I'm doing to promote like a stream or anything like that is...
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. That makes sense, though.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. So we are here today, a very special episode. We are going to talk entirely about The Last of Us Part 2. It's been out for what, a month now?
Has it really?
It's at least like 3 weeks, I'd say.
Okay. Yeah.
And it hasn't stopped. It started out as a shit show, and it hasn't stopped.
Yeah. You could argue it's a shittier show than it's ever been.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've never seen. I don't think I've ever seen a game get this much controversy or backlash ever.
No.
And I didn't want to start in rolling into it, but shit, since we started in rolling into it, we might as well get that out of the way now.
Well, it's unavoidable. Yeah. And like in my opinion, have you ever played Metal Gear Solid 2?
I've always tried to play Metal Gear. I'm notoriously bad at Metal Gear games, though. And
it's fine.
Yeah, I love the games, and the one I played the most was 4. I got so far in 4, but I still couldn't beat it, and it bums me out.
Yeah, it's fair. But MGS2 specifically, and this is a spoiler from almost decades
like 18 years ago.
Yeah.
We're going to spoil everything we talk about almost, I guarantee it.
Oh, yeah. Well, they every time they demoed the game, they showed Solid Snake.
Yeah.
And then it was revealed only when the game came out that you played... I think like 13 of the 15 hours as Raiden and not Solid Snake.
Yeah, I at least got past the first mission in the game on the tanker or on the boat or wherever it was until the bait and switch happened. So I at least know like why people were pissed back then.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot. Well, I shouldn't say a lot. I think that's a big reason what we're seeing with The Last of Us 2.
Well, it's funny that you brought up Metal Gear Solid 2 asbestos specifically because I watched a podcast that Neil Druckmann, I'm gonna fuck up every word today. That Troy Baker and Allie Johnson had done. Allie, goddamn it, Ashley Johnson.
Yeah, you're good.
Oh god, we talked for like 2 hours before we started this podcast. Like we're already winded. This is gonna be so much fun. But it was the Kind of Funny Games cast, the spoiler cast, and Neil Druckmann had specifically cited Metal Gear Solid 2 as one of his favorite games. And it makes so much fucking sense that it would be because of the similar type of bait and switch that goes on in The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to get into that now or do you want to talk about it later?
I mean, since we started, we might as well piss off as many people as we can so that anyone who does stays genuinely and not out of spite.
Yeah.
So it's probably a good thing. Yeah, I just I don't know. I saw some people were getting shitty about the trailers because they thought that Joel was going to be a much larger part of the game. And I know that there was the one trailer that had the swapped character model of Joel for Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
I thought about it and I watched it, and I personally don't see an issue with that because I mean that happens in film regularly, especially like if you've watched J.J. Abrams, any film that he does, he is constantly like burying things under lies and misdirection in trailers.
Yeah.
Does that like, did that affect you at all, seeing like that trailer and then watching the game and seeing it be like Jesse?
No, excuse me. I absolutely love having the rug pulled out from under me.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm playing games or watching movies. Like,
yeah, I wonder what it is that people didn't like about it. Do they just like, do people just not like surprises, do you think?
Well, so you brought up, it happens a lot in movies.
Yeah.
And I've actually thought about this. People pay at most $10 to see a movie.
Right.
And now people pay at most I should say the barrier for entry at release is $60 for a game.
Right. So it's more of an investment. So you think that like you want more of you want to get more of what you expect out of a game, I guess, than a film.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I don't know. It didn't bother. It didn't. In fact, I got it spoiled for me like a week before it happened, and I was excited for it.
If anyone hears that beep, that's the coffee pot turning off. Yeah, it turns off automatically after 2 hours.
Well, thank you for not burning down this apartment.
That tells you how long we've been talking before we started this.
But yeah, I really none of that bothered me because I didn't expect Joel to be a part of the story really at all.
No, and I went back before we started filming this, and I watched all of the other promotional material and all the other trailers. He's in the first trailer that got released, but I would argue that trailer is a non sequitur that doesn't take place within the universe. That was just kind of like a weird David Lynchian dream state. Because is that trailer fresh in your mind at all?
Yeah. I remember it vividly, and it was pure sizzle reel. There was nothing else.
Yeah, and it wasn't until the next trailer that came out, which showed the Seraphates and Abby. It was the specifically the scene where she gets hung up and the woman, whatever her name
Yara?
is. I'm thinking of the cult leader.
I don't think they ever gave her a name.
She didn't have a name. Okay, so the leader of the cult, she does her whole thing and they break Yara's arm with the hammer. That was the next trailer that got revealed, and every other trailer after that, Joel was nowhere in sight. So I was never under the impression that Joel would be that big of a character within the game.
No, and to even. I guess especially the promotional material prior to, they kept saying this is Ellie's story. So
yeah, and through all the trailers and through all the press releases that they had done, it was pretty evident that that was going to be the case.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's another thing that people were so pissed about, was because it is Ellie's story, but it's not Ellie's story.
Right. Because there's two sides to every coin, and everything I want to talk about, I want to just like jump into right now. But I'm trying to be patient, because in my notes, I have a section that's just called Joel and Jerry, What is a Hero?
Ooh.
Yeah, because like the fans of the first game constantly called Joel like the hero who didn't deserve to die the way he did, and I never saw him as a hero.
I wouldn't say I saw him as a hero, but I don't know if I ever saw him as a villain either. You know?
It's like that's what you get from a post-apocalyptic world where it's just bleak and gray. There's no heroes or villains in this type of world. Mm-hmm. It's just people trying to survive, doing the best they can with the flaws that they have as people and the decisions that they make.
Exactly. And it was foreshadowed, or not really foreshadowed, but hinted at a ton in the first Last of Us that Joel was not a stand-up guy.
No, and I guess we'll get into Joel now, since I was gonna say one more thing about like the death threats and everything that Neil Druckmann and what is Abby's voice actor? Laura Bailey?
Yeah, Laura Bailey.
Yeah, I was going to get into the death threats that they've received, but they've handled those like fucking champs. Like, I don't think we really need to talk about those, because they have handled those so gracefully and so well that it's it is what it is.
Yeah.
So going back to Joel as a character, my memory of the first game is as old as the first game, but I still feel like it was such a good experience that it's still very memorable, and I still remember it. especially from winter onward, once Joel comes to, that's when I really started to question him as a character and not feel comfortable with the decisions he was making and forcing me to play through those, especially that hospital scene, the entire hospital scene once, once we figure out, oh, the virus is going to kill, or the vaccine will kill Ellie, and Joel just goes on a tirade through that whole hospital. I did not enjoy playing that sequence. I had a fucking pain in the pit of my gut.
Yeah. And it was really fun. Well, I shouldn't say funny, but it was really interesting to me. When I did that, I was getting ready to go to a concert that night.
Oh, yeah.
And I was hyped up for the show. And I was I'm going to go finish The Last of Us.
So you got ran through the fucking ringer. Did you still go to the show?
Oh, well, that's a whole nother story. It was, but I was so hyped up. I was I'm going to finish The Last of Us before I split. And I got to the ending of that game, and I had this pit in my stomach, especially with the lie that Joel made at the end of the game. I was what the fuck?
You get why he does it, It's, the world took everything from him, so he I wouldn't say he enacts his revenge by taking everything from the world, but, he needs that daughter figure, and that's what Ellie became over the course of the journey, obviously. Mm-hmm. And but that's just that's what's so great about the ending is I didn't feel comfortable with the ending, but I understood and respected it because what would you do in that situation,
Exactly. And it was honestly I spent more time trying to reconcile that Joel was in the right than I did
I went so far as to convince myself for a while, and this was the help of some employee at GameStop who gave me the wrong information that when Joel lies, he actually isn't lying, because there was, at least in the PS3 original version, there was a tape recording that I think you could only find in New Game Plus that did mention other tests done on other people, but that recording said it nowhere did it mention that these people were immune, like they were just testing on a bunch of Randys.
Yeah. And I remember back in the old message board days,
mm-hmm. Back in the game facts times.
Yes. Oh my God.
Real quick. Did you know about the dude named Slowpoke on there?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Dude, I remember Slowpoke.
I missed that shit so much. Slowpoke, for anyone who didn't know, he or she, I'm not going to label, they would notoriously post years old articles and basically be the Internet Explorer meme of game facts. It was amazing. And everyone was so nice, and they would all jump in and just be oh yeah, I can't wait for this game to come out that came out 5 years ago.
Yeah. It was always a fun little just a fun little ride to go down.
Yeah.
But
I think okay, I'm not gonna go into. Okay, but when I remember when the 3DS XL was coming out, or the 2DS was coming out, he posted an article that was hey guys, have you heard of the 3DS? It's coming out. That's the last thing I wanted to say about that.
But yeah, I remember somebody on GameFAQs actually kind of saying, I don't remember who it was, but they basically said, humanity is fucked at this point.
Yeah, Joel doomed the entire fucking planet. With one fell swoop. Yeah.
Well, but okay. So we're hold on. So you've got to this idea though that especially now in these crazy vaccine. Everybody and their brother's trying to get a vaccine right now in 2020.
Right.
Future historians, we're looking at you.
How timely is it that this game came out in the middle of a pandemic? Is that not amazing? Where a vaccine does not exist in this game universe, everyone's trying desperately to find one in real life as well.
And vaccines.
Poetic as fuck.
Yeah, I'm telling you, playing through part 2, there were parts of it that were absolutely surreal for me.
Yeah.
But back on the thing, getting a vaccine or a shot at a vaccine is not a surefire.
Yeah.
Cure.
There was a very strong chance that the operation could have been a failure, or even if they did succeed in pulling out the brainstem that they needed, they wouldn't have created a vaccine, or the vaccine could have been destroyed at some point. I guess the best way to sleep on it is that it could have still been feasibly unrealistic for the vaccine to reach like a nationwide availability in the game.
And the thing that I always remember or thought of is at that point in the Last of Us universe, humanity as a whole had been flushed down the toilet.
Yeah.
And so with a cure, what was that going to change?
See, that's a good point too, because at that point, yeah, everyone was so instinctual and survival based that getting back to normal would be damn near impossible, especially because, as you can tell, like in the game, most characters, especially enemies that you fight, I'd peg them as like, you know, mid 30s, maybe early 40s. So like they've spent at least half of their lives living this instinctual killer be killed type of, you know, landscape. So they wouldn't know any better, and they wouldn't really know how to approach normal.
Yeah. So I don't know, I guess coming back to part 2, when they address that lie, I mean, obviously the lie itself was a breach of trust.
Yeah.
But, you know, it really kind of, there were still parts of me thinking in part 2, Joel was not a great guy.
No.
By any stretch of the imagination, but you can also say that like he was merely just a human.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like, again, it goes back to what would you do in that situation where you know, he had a daughter, she got shot by some military fucker, and he lived 20 years without this daughter. All of a sudden, you know, here comes this girl who's the exact same age, who he now has to spend his time with. And I mean, at the beginning of the game, you know, he's just a smuggler and this is a job to him, you know? So at no point, I feel like, is he putting on the hero boots, and he doesn't think of himself as a hero. He's just a dude doing a shitty job for like a good chunk of the game. And
and it's just brilliant about how near the end of that game, they take the, you know, they build him up, and you really feel the bond between them grow to the point where Joel as a character has to make a really shitty decision.
Yeah. And I don't know if like in the heat of the moment, if I would have done anything differently. And that's what's worth talking about. Yeah. You know? Because I know what's right for the world, but it's like, what do I want at this point?
Exactly. And I mean, I've never had kids but I do have.
Oh, you haven't, have you?
I mean, we'll see. No, that's but you know, things close to me. Okay, we'll take my cat for example. She's my ride or die, like 100%. Yeah. If someone were to say that, you know, they had to, you know, kill her to find a vaccine to, I don't know, what's a disease cats get?
I don't know. You can just say like cat herpes.
Yeah, cat herpes. So they have but they had to kill my cat to do it. No, I'm killing that entire hospital plus.
Yeah. And that's what makes him so good of a character, is he's not a hero. He's just a person, in the same way that, are you familiar with Silent Hill at all? Like any of the...
No. Well, okay. I know of the franchise.
Okay.
But...
So Silent Hill 2 is the perfect example, because the main character, James Sunderland, is also not a fucking hero, but that's what makes him a great character, is he's morally gray, and you uncover the story about why he's in Silent Hill. And this, like, I don't want to spoil it, because one, that would take too fucking long.
Yeah.
And two, I think that Silent Hill 2 is a game that people should enjoy, because it did come out in 2001. And at this point, the plot is like a pretty generic plot, but for what it is, if you go in blind, you can still really appreciate it. But it goes back to, like, I think sometimes pulling out the hero card and plugging certain characters with the hero label is reductive and takes away layers of the character.
Yeah.
You know, it makes them less interesting. And I think trying to put Joel in that hero category of he's like the ultimate person who could do no wrong, that does his character like a major disservice.
Absolutely. So I don't know if I ever talked to you about it, but what was your initial gut reaction when we got to him dying?
Oh, dude, I had such a hard time with it, because I already spoiled it for myself, but I didn't get too deep into it. So I knew he died. I knew that he took up some golfing lessons and it went bad. But the entire time I was actually trying to psych myself out of it, because when we were playing as Abby, you know, she meets them and Tommy introduces who they are. I saw the look on her face and I was like, fuck, it's going to happen at some point. And I was dreading it the entire time. I was like, this isn't going to happen. There's no way. Oh, that's Buttercup. Sorry, guys. For those of you who are just listening to this, one of my other cats walked in and she's just saying hi to Michael. So, but yeah, no, I was trying to convince myself so hard that this isn't the person, this isn't the time. And just the long drawn out lead up to it from where, you know, Abby finds them, and as soon as she says, "Hey, I've got a camp back at this church," you know, I was like, "Oh fuck, this is where it's gonna happen," and it's gut wrenching, you know, it's not easy to sit through because you know it's Joel, he's a good fucking character.
Yeah,
it's so like I don't want us to like you know talking about it candidly and being like, "Oh, he died. That's a thing that happens," to make it sound like we're trying to undercut it. Like not at fucking all.
No,
I even sitting through it the second time, I was having a hard time doing that.
And I don't know, like I did not see, I had an idea he was going to die. I didn't know, but I had a thought that he was going to die. And, but it happening within maybe an hour of gameplay, I was just like, it was a weird, like, it was like
a dream state almost.
It was like a dream state almost, and then it was to me it was like, all right, motherfuckers, let's go kill some people.
yeah because like it's really because at that point you're playing as Ellie, and you're seeing it from her perspective, and so she's on the ground, and like you're not supposed to be paying attention to Joel's death, like you're supposed to be paying, but you're supposed to be like paying attention to her reaction. And I think that like the game is trying to sell you on like being Ellie's caretaker in spirit, because the first game Joel is her literal caretaker in real life, and I think the game is trying to pass the buck on to the player in a sort of spiritual way.
And it was an obvious, like, you know, they had talked in the promotional material that this was a revenge story, and initially I thought they were going to kill off Dina, who was like her kind of girlfriend at the start of the game. But then when it was Joel, I was like, you know, it was like the floor was pulled out under me, and it was on then. And I think that was so brilliant how they did that, because you got the entirety of The Last of Us to, really get to know Joel and to you know, understand that bond between between the two characters, and you like formed somewhat of a relationship with those three, and then you get that taken away from you within the first hour of the sequel, and then you, like, I don't know about you, but I hated Abby and her group.
Absolutely. At the start of it, like
WLFs.
I mistook, because when she hits him for the final time, and you look at her face, and she's just dissatisfied.
Yeah.
Like I took that as just like she's like this smug, cocky ass little villain girl, you know. I didn't see that until I like played her side of it. I didn't really see that as, oh shit, she realized that like that didn't solve anything.
Yeah, and. But like, I really appreciated, like, as much as I do want to talk about Abby's section.
Oh no, I have her in my notes.
Okay,
but we'll get there.
But from that point on, when you're playing as Ellie, I think they really nailed the idea that you're on a hate-filled mission of hate from Hatesville.
Absolutely.
And like, and they really sold the idea that you were like, that the farther you got into Seattle, just the worst. It's the worst vacation of all time. Hands down.
Seattle's not what it's cracked up to be in real life. Let me tell you one thing.
But like, they really sold this idea that like the farther you got into Seattle, the more Ellie was slipping away.
Yeah. Well, like especially when she killed Nora. That was I think that was her turning point of realizing, okay, I can't go too far. and I think she cried when she got back to Dina, because she said I made her talk, and then you could see like tears streaking down her face.
Which that scene in particular might be my favorite in the entire game.
The killing or the aftermath?
The aftermath.
Yeah.
And it's such one, Dina is my favorite character in the game.
She's great.
She's great. Like everybody needs a Dina, but like that scene in particular really showed off exactly who those characters were.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, Ellie, who couldn't see past her own vengeance, she crossed a personal line with herself, and Dina, who didn't want to go there, didn't want anything to do with it, was still doing her best to take care of the person that she cared deeply for.
Yeah, because she was doing it for Ellie, the entire time.
And I think that scene alone, like, was one of the most beautifully animated, because there was like 2 lines of dialogue and you could understand everything that was going on.
It sold it just from the character movements and the way that they interacted with each other, that this scene is so like heartbreaking for Ellie, because she just had to viciously murder this girl with a pipe to get information.
Yeah.
And like she was not satisfied with herself after the fact.
And that whole scene was just heartbreaking for me, because it's just like, you could tell that Ellie was in free fall, and you could tell that Dina and Jesse was involved at that point, right?
I think, because it was day 2 of Seattle. The first half of day 2 was, I think, trying to find out where Nora is, and then that's when you're going through the houses, and Jesse, he pulls Ellie back, and that's when you go back to the theater for the first half of that day. Yeah.
So like, you could tell that, Ellie was in free fall, and Jesse and Dina were doing everything that they could to not necessarily reel her in, but to, give her a security blanket. And she was just like, while she was accepting of it, she just couldn't.
Yeah. Because she got close to, figuring out this isn't worth it, especially when Jesse brought her to the realization that, hey, Dina's pregnant. We can't fucking do this right now.
Yeah.
She is fully ready to go back to Jackson. She just needs to find Tommy. And day 3 is where it gets real fucked up, because like in finding Tommy, she's slowly going back down that rabbit hole as we play the game. And it becomes, kind of a, hey, in order to find Tommy, we should just go after Abby.
Yeah, and because her rationalization is,
it's shot to shit at that point.
Well, yeah, but her idea is that if we're going after Tommy, Tommy's going after Abby.
So we might as well go after Abby. We can kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
And Jesse's like, no, let's just get Tommy and get the fuck out.
Yeah, because Jesse's at that point, I think, probably the most rational of the 3 of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
even Dina, who is like however many months pregnant she's in at that point, is still like a ride or die.
Yeah, and no, that and then is that when the boat section started?
I think so.
Okay,
because they her and Jesse split ways like halfway through the mall.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And like, so have you ever played the game Spec Ops: The Line?
No, but I've like watched so many videos about it, and I know how bleak that game is as well.
So that's all I could think about when I was playing Last of Us Part 2. It was just like this march to hell that you are a participant of. Yeah. And not only that, but you because it's a video, I think that's the brilliant part of this and Spec Ops being video games, is that you are completing goals, you're completing objectives. And I don't know about you so much. I've played a lot of video games, and it's like, you do the next thing. Yeah.
You get kind of lost in it. I was going to talk about ludonarrative dissonance at some point, because I have seen a lot of posts on forums about this game suffering from ludonarrative dissonance. I don't know if it does. I think it just depends on how willing you are to get invested in the idea of survival versus like arcade, you know?
What do you mean by ludonarrative dissonance?
So ludonarrative dissonance is when the actions of like the gameplay generally don't line up with like the story. So think of like any sandbox game, like especially GTA 4 would be the best example, where the story is very serious and Nico is trying to be a good person making it in New York. Meanwhile, you can just go on a helicopter rampage and murder like an entire fucking neighborhood.
Yeah.
Or I haven't played Metal Gear Solid 5, but I think I know enough about the game to say that like I know the twist in the game, and I won't spoil it because it's still such a new game. But
Yeah.
There's the idea that you're playing as this monolithic fucking war criminal as Big Boss, but you can do a pacifist run and not kill anybody, and it creates a disconnect.
Yeah.
And I like players have said that the game suffers from that, but I think that's just how willing you are to get invested in the idea of I'm surviving versus I'm killing these dudes for the fun of it.
Well, as far as this game suffering from it, I think it suffers from it less than most games do.
Yeah, well, because it's going to still be a video game. Like, there's still going to be things that are gamey and don't make sense. Like, eating fucking ibuprofen to give yourself more accuracy. Like, shit like that's not going to add up. But, like...
What do you mean? That's true, man. That's 100% true.
You take some Vicodin before you go out sharpshooting. But, you know, like the game is set up to where you can easily get around most situations without having to kill sometimes anybody. And it's all about letting yourself sort of let suspension of disbelief kick in and feel like, okay, I'm here for my survival because these dudes are going to kill me, rather than I want to kill these dudes for the fun of it.
And honestly, I think a little bit of that comes from the pedigree that Naughty Dog as a developer.
Because, you know, Uncharted is just a fun little fucking shoot 'em up where Nathan Drake will shoot someone in the head and be like, yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. Well, that and like... They have chalked themselves up like they are on an unstoppable roll right now.
Dude, they are on a rampage in cinematic storytelling.
And like I think honestly a lot of, and this can come down to a lot of problems people have with The Last of Us Part 2 is they are at this pedigree of quality where now they are waiting for the domino to tip and for that house for the house of cards to crumble, really.
Yeah.
And so like you were talking about ludonarrative dissonance, that I feel like is, especially in the realm of video games, especially in the AAA space where there's still a lot of stuff that you can't take a whole lot of risks. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's a little bit of a nitpick personally, but
yeah. At this point, there are some people who are just going to try to nitpick everything and consider them like valid criticisms. And we'll get into criticisms later. I've got some shit that I don't like about the game. But, you know, we'll get into that when we get into that. But that kind of brings me to I had a point that I was also going to make about it, but now I cannot think about what it is. I'm looking at my notes right now. It was something similar to ludonarrative dissonance, but I guess we'll move back. Oh yeah, the there's also a lot of people saying that like the game just does things purely for shock value.
I disagree, honestly.
Like I think, and I don't bother to ask what specific parts of the game are considered for shock value, but I mean, you got to think of it as the fact that like films have been getting away with showing you so much graphic shit for 40 years.
Saw is one of the most popular film franchises of all time.
Yeah, there's like visceral blood and violence in movies since like at least the 80s. Because I know like in the 60s, like when Alfred Hitchcock made Psycho, that was the first time a toilet had ever been shown in film.
No kidding.
Yeah, that was a groundbreaking movie for toilets, man. Toilets got their fucking 15 minutes of fame, and now they're in every movie.
We have come so far.
We've gone from toilets to golf clubs pretty quick. But no, I think that like because of the game's tone and how bleak it is, like things need to be visceral to get the point across. And what better medium to do that than video games? especially now in 2020 where video games visually can blur the line between game and cinema so well. Why wouldn't you want to do shit like that?
Well, have you ever seen the movie Children of Men?
No, but I know about it. I've always wanted to watch it. I saw the long take of that film, the one scene, and that scene fucks me up.
I wish I would have known before I came down. I would have let you just have it. Like, I've seen it a million times, and it's one of my all-time favorite movies.
I'll see it at some point.
Yeah, let me know next time. But anyway, so that movie is uncompromisingly bleak.
Yeah,
but its message is overall hopeful. Yeah. And I have never seen anybody criticize that movie of being, done for shock value, even though you literally see a dude from the waist up on the floor in one part of the movie.
Okay.
And it's uncompromisingly bleak, but it's regarded as one of the best science fiction movies. It's just one of the best movies of the past 20 years. Yeah. And I guess my question is why can't games have that same pedigree,
I think because, and I don't want to speak about like all gamers in general because there's different types of gamers, Yeah. I'm a gamer who enjoys films as well, but like I think gamers want a certain experience, and once you start pushing that envelope, they start to get uncomfortable because then they have to start kind of seeing these things that they're either not used to seeing or they don't want to see. Yeah. Like, I think a lot of when people talk about shock value, the two big things are obviously Joel's death and Abby and Owen just fucking going to town.
Oh, are you talking about when they were doing it?
Oh yeah, yeah. I thought when they're straight raw dogging.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I forgot. I forgot about scene.
That. Yeah, no.
No. Well, that, and I think Last of Us is, as far as like violence wise, uncompromisingly violent.
Oh yeah, but it has to be because look at the world that you're playing in. Yeah. It's disgusting and it's bleak and it's terrible, but it needs to sell you on that because how else is it going to do that?
So I've got a quick question. Did you ever use the explosive arrows as Ellie?
Oh yeah, I tried to as often as I could. I would usually use those or Molotovs if there was like a group of like 3 people. Usually at the start of most encounters, there'd be like that tiny little group of dudes. I would just go in there and immediately fucking like take those 3 out and jump into like whatever was around me.
Oh yeah, I had a somewhat different response to that.
Oh no.
I used the explosive arrows once and I saw how they like absolutely
just the chunky bits that just go flying immediately. No, like we're going to talk about the dogs too.
The dogs.
Because I exclusively used trap mines on the dogs. It was so fucking easy. Anyone who says that they are hard to fight, dude, just make a trap mine, let it catch your scent, and then just place a trap mine and fucking crawl away. It'll blow up every goddamn time and you can get off scot-free. They're not hard to fight. They're just kind of annoying. Yeah. But let me tell you about a dog named Bear. You ready for this?
No, I'm not. But
all right. So flash forward day 2 of Ellie's campaign. You get to the entrance of the hospital where Nora's hanging out. You fucking going in there. You throw a Molotov at these 2 dudes and hide in the grass. You're like, all right, I got these 2 motherfuckers. They're aware that you're here at this point, so they bring the dogs out. There's a woman who's got a dog named Bear, and she goes, all right, Bear, go find her. So Bear finds my scent, right? And I try to get away from Bear for a little bit. I get away from him. He finds me again. You fucking shoot him in the face, and this woman lets out a gut-wrenching scream. She cries. She goes, Bear! Yeah. And flash forward 3 hours later. Actually, let me say this. I was like, yeah, fuck you, Bear. You're dead. And I was pretty happy because that was like the one time I did something like cool and good because that dog was charging fast, right? I shot it square in the face. And I'm not usually that good at games when something's charging at you that fast. I was proud of that moment. Yeah. So flash forward 3 hours later, you're playing as Abby. You just got some burritos with Manny. You put your backpack on. Mel's being a bitch. I don't care. We go to the fob, or we're going to the fob. So we go down to the kennel to pick up Alice. And once we pick up Alice, there's a dog over there. The ball. It walks up to you with the ball in its mouth, drops the ball, And Abby says, "Oh, hey, Bear, how's it going?" And I had to stop playing for a second. That shit got me. I thought about that entire encounter with that dog, and I was like, fuck. I killed that dog as Ellie, like, probably within a matter of, like, a few hours after Abby plays with this dog. Like, it's a good old fucking time.
Yeah. And I think that, that you bring up a really good point. I think it was amazing that Naughty Dog decided to have every single one of their enemy NPCs have a name, even the dogs.
People got shitty with that for some reason.
Why?
I don't know. Like, they were like, what's the point of, like, these people naming each other? I don't understand. It's like people who play the game don't want to relate to it on, like, a deeper level. And I think that because, like, when you give these characters names, I think suddenly there's part of you that kind of associates them more as people and less as things, right?
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's a crazy thought.
And
man.
I wonder if that makes people uncomfortable, and that's why they didn't like every character having a separate name.
And I think that's why it worked for me, because okay, I'm going to back up a little bit. I think you are touching on a point why people are a little bit uncomfortable with The Last of Us Part 2 as a whole, because
it tends to be a lot more humanistic.
It makes it, it's humanistic, and not only that, but it makes it personal. It makes sure, it's an incredibly fun game. Like, the gameplay is 10 out of 10.
Oh,
but
well, like 8 out of 10 for me. there are gameplay mechanics that I had frustratingly troubles with.
That's fair.
But we'll get into, like, those later.
But I guess why sometimes I like sitting, like, after a long day of work, you like to turn on your favorite game,
put on, like, some Dynasty Warriors or some shit.
And stop thinking about it. And The Last of Us 2 kind of forces you to be in the moment and think about these things at all times. Yeah. And you can say it's really heavy-handed, which in a couple of spots I think it is, but it really makes you think, isn't it kind of fucked up that we just
Well, I think when it comes down to that, you have to remember what the title of the game is. It's The Last of Us, like there's a meaning behind that, and it's the last of humanity, and the game is overall about humanity, and I think it's really cool that they were able to pull back the veil a little bit and show you a lot more about the actual, like, Last of Us as a concept, as opposed to and still making it work within, like, a self-contained story.
Absolutely, yeah. And I guess back to my point, like, there's just things that the game forced you to be in a headspace that you might be uncomfortable going to. Yeah,
and I that's probably where a lot of people who didn't enjoy the game that comes from, is that idea of, I'm not playing a game to think about it, I'm playing a game to blow off some steam or something.
Yeah, but you're playing literally the absolute wrong series.
Yeah, I'm like you can go play Uncharted and have a good fucking time. Like, it's so much fun to play Uncharted, and I'm not gonna try to downsize those games either, because they're also cinematic masterpieces. But in terms of telling humanistic stories, they're just kind of fun little Indiana Jones action romps, There's still not much to really think about unless you like learning about lore of other countries, and sometimes, things that are just made up for the fucking games.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, excellent written characters and all that jazz. Yeah. But I digress. Like, they really hammer home the fact in The Last of Us Part 2 that you are... that you, especially in the world that we live in, we need to be thinking about other people. Yeah. And
especially right now.
Yeah. And we'll talk about it later, because it's my big pull away from The Last of Us. But it was just amazing to me how they gamified empathy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think I'm trying to think of any other game. Actually, I want to make one more point about ludonarrative dissonance.
Absolutely.
And I want to know how you feel. Do you think why the fuck was Hotline Miami the game that they chose to include in The Last of Us.
One, it's fucking good.
Yes.
Two, that is the epitome of just
Like, do you think that they knew what they were doing and they were being real tongue-in-cheek about it when they put that in? Because, like, that game is so fucking good, and it's kind of the exact same setup, just in, like, a neo-noir respect.
it's I mean that I think because that game you are literally brutally murdering people
Yeah.
for points, and
Yeah.
it is an extremely fun game, but it's also like they definitely knew what they were
They
doing.
knew what they were doing, yeah.
And God, if you haven't played Hotline Miami,
Fucking
please
play it. I have a story about that game, though, and it, like, when I saw her playing it on the Vita, that guard down there, I was like, well, shit, I hope she got farther than I did, because I tried playing it on the Vita, and it crashes at a certain point. You can't fucking play it. At least when I did. So I never beat the game, and I just thought it was funny. I was like, well, she's not going to fucking beat that piece of shit.
I've never beat it because it was fucking hard. But
I never beat it because it crashed on me all the time.
yeah, me too. That's exactly what I said.
That's what it is. That's my reason. I couldn't beat Pong because it crashed.
Yeah, I don't know. I completely lost what I was talking about. So
I don't
yeah.
remember. We can go on to like specific like character relationships
love
now.
to. I would love to.
Like we can talk about like Ellie and Dina, and Ellie and Jesse, and Jesse and Dina, and
Yeah.
fucking Tommy. Tommy made me mad at the beginning of the third act. Like,
Wait, the third act, are we talking about?
I would consider like if we break it up into acts and we treat it like a film, like it's, you know, Ellie, Abby, Santa Barbara, like that.
Man, the whole, if we're talking about the third act, we haven't even talked about Abby yet, so I'm gonna save that.
We'll get into that, because I had a point to go through like each part like in order, but you know, this is off the cuff shit, so.
And I'm really sorry if I ruined that.
I love this freeform shit, man. Like,
Yeah.
Like what else do you want to get into? Because I mean, I've got my notes here. I could look back anytime.
So bring something up. I would love. There's so many things I want to talk about, but if I start talking, I'm just gonna be like saying that's the reason why.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean. Since we're stuck on the story, we can go into like the flashbacks that Ellie has.
Okay, yeah, I'd love to. Specifically, I want to talk about the amazing sequence at the museum.
Oh, dude, I loved that. The second time, I still haven't gotten Joel to do the hat thing. I didn't know about that until like a day ago. But I like the flashbacks are so important, and I don't understand, like, what do people who hate the game, what do you think they think about those flashbacks and why they're there?
I think generally, from what I can tell, have you been to the Last of Us 2 subreddit?
No, I'm afraid to go there.
Man,
I don't know
great.
what it's like right now.
It is an absolute shithole of a subreddit.
Oh,
but,
yeah. Okay, that's good to know. That's usually that's just subreddit in general, though. Or that's just Reddit in general, though, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to wean myself off of that place, but no, they. The general consensus is that Ellie's flashbacks are amazing.
Okay. See,
And
so like if they enjoy the flashbacks, why can't they, you know, why can't people learn to look past Joel's death, in that same respect? Because, you know, I mean, that's what the point of them is. I think that's how they also probably got away with killing Joel so early off, for me, is to show you the grieving process.
yeah, exactly. Show you the grieving process, and they really made up for lost time with Ellie and Joel, because the game takes place 5 years after.
Yeah. So at that point, I mean, you gotta remember that Ellie, at the end of the first game, she's like, what, 14?
Yeah.
She's 19 when we play as her. So she goes through an entire fucking puberty that we don't see. Mm-hmm. So she's gonna have wild emotions and, you know, conflicted feelings about this apparent father figure.
Yeah.
So their falling out was like inevitable, it feels like.
Yeah, especially because there was an elephant in the room of their relationship.
Was there an elephant in the museum too?
You know,
They fucking. Wait, no, she climbs a T-Rex.
Yeah,
I was about to say she climbs an elephant, but
she climbs a T-Rex. But
how fucking that was a miss, Neil Druckmann. You should have put an elephant in that fucking museum.
Shit game, 0 out of 10.
0 out of 10. Fucking hate golf now. I've always hated golf though. Golf's a shitty sport.
Have you ever golfed?
No. You're gonna try swinging me on golf now, aren't you?
I'm not gonna swing you on golf.
You're gonna swing me with the golf club.
I'm just gonna say it's a lot more fun than it looks.
It's a lot more fun than watching someone.
Oh God. Anyway,
I'm gonna try to get off of that. I made that joke too many times for it to be funny at this point.
But
if I can, joking about death is how I deal with it. You know? Like
yeah.
it helps me understand death and you know. Prepare for it, basically.
Especially, you know, with how bleak this game is.
Yeah.
If we were to just sit here and mull over, and cry over every sentence, then,
yeah,
you know, it would be a drag.
Yeah.
But that's why specifically I'm so glad, you know, for the opportunity to talk about this game because, there's so much to talk about, but yet at the same time, you know, you can the discourse of the game is so split right now that making a joke about it is either you're ripping on it or B, you know, you're ruining something sacred.
Yeah. And I've seen plenty of jokes being made. I follow right now. It's on Facebook, just like The Last of Us Part 2 community, and they make plenty of jokes all fucking day, and I love every single one of them. Like there was one I saw where, you know, Manny gets shot in the back of the head and it goes right through his eye. This dude was like, I bet he didn't see that coming. And I came back, I was like, I see what you did there.
But what were we talking about?
Flashbacks.
Yeah. Yes.
And like Ellie's falling out with Joel and how like the flashbacks are like the grieving, not only the grieving process, but her trying to reconnect. And one of the themes of the game is looking for the light and seeing the light, and that's why the moths are so prevalent throughout the whole game. Yeah,
I think there's I personally saw another reason the moths were there as well. But I kept. Moths and butterflies are everywhere in The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah,
and it as their story structure.
Yeah, well, they're even in the loading screen, and in the corner there's that light, and they're going towards the light. The game is trying to tell you the entire time to, you know, keep looking for the light.
Keep looking for the light. And those flashbacks, especially that flashback in the museum, up to a certain point is just nothing but pure light.
Yeah.
And then once they start, it was really interesting to me. Once Ellie started exploring that other part of the museum and that boar rushes through, which scared the living shit out of me.
Yeah, the tone shifts completely, and that's where like the rest of the flashbacks kind of hang out at.
Oh yeah, they things get noticeably darker from that moment on.
Yeah,
and what was I going to say?
From a narrative perspective, I know we keep getting off topic, but I don't give a shit.
Go for it.
From a narrative perspective, I noticed that parts like that and at Santa Barbara, right before Abby gets kidnapped by the Rattlers, they set up items for you to pick up that you're never gonna fucking use. How cool is that? Like they really trick you into thinking, okay, I'm gonna keep playing, and then they just bait and switch you every time. Like, how can you be mad at this game? I can be mad at this game sometimes, but you know.
You're nitpicking and biased. I win. Bye-bye.
Shit game.
And then there was the flashback at the hospital at St. Mary's.
Yeah.
Where Ellie learns in full about the lie.
Yeah.
And was there any other flashbacks with Ellie?
There was, there was the one at the end of the game.
The dance?
Yeah, there was the dance, and then the absolute last one.
Yeah, that's right.
Which we should save, I guess, for when we talk about the ending.
Yeah.
But I don't think so, because that's the revelation where, you know, she learns everything, and she tells Joel, dude, just be honest with me. What happened here? And then he finally comes clean. And that was their actual, like, official falling out as characters.
Yeah. And from that point, I was honestly a little bit confused because I thought to myself, she's done with Joel, why does she give so much of a shit that he died? That's what I was thinking at that point.
That's a good point, because at that you don't see the rest of it for God knows how long, because I think that's when Abby's story starts.
I think that's the end of Seattle Day 2 as Ellie.
Okay. So would there be one at the end of Day 3 that we're not thinking about?
No, because I think at the end of Day 3 you start.
That's when it goes to Abby's flashback with her dad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, man, I talk about her dad too, because like it's like, even though we talked about there's no heroes and villains earlier, there's still, you know, something you can pull from that, in that, like, you know, the hero of your story can be the villain in someone else's story, you know?
Yeah.
And they really wanted you to see that through Abby's perspective. Like, I didn't see anything wrong with playing as Abby. Actually, I thought her gameplay sections were better than Ellie's for the first, you know, like I got through those a lot easier, and I was able to, you know, process them quicker and whatnot. That might have also just been me getting better at the game. Because even on normal, well, actually on normal, the game's kind of you can kind of cheese it a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
I gotta, like, once we get to the third act, I gotta tell you about this part that I cheesed so heavily, and I loved it. It was so great. It was actually the last section too.
Oh yeah.
So
are we talking about Abby now?
Seattle, Day 1, Abby.
Well,
I was confused at that point, because I didn't understand that we were starting a new campaign as Abby. I thought that was a flashback again.
Yeah.
And then it was really confusing that they started flashing her back, until I caught on that, oh, we're just doing the 3-day cycle over again, like fucking Majora's Mask style.
Yeah.
I got really confused with all the time hopping in her section for a second there.
That's a really good parallel, by the way.
Majora's
Mask.
Yeah, because that's also a grimdark game, and that's my favorite Zelda game, but we're not talking about that right
now. Screw it, Zelda podcast. No.
Fuck it.
No.
This is the bait and switch for the podcast. If Neil Druckmann can do a bait and switch, why can't I? Fuck.
No, but like I said earlier, I had the Abby bit spoiled for me ahead of time. I knew that you played as her for the second half of the game.
Yeah.
But how that came to be, the details were so murky to me.
You know what my favorite detail is about Abby's campaign?
What?
Why do you think she collects quarters? Because there's two sides to every coin, motherfucker.
God damn it. I'm done now. No, that's really
that's
good.
It. We're done. That's a wrap.
I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, I realized it on my second playthrough. I was like, wait, she's collecting quarters, and this is the inverse of Ellie's story. Because like throughout the game, there's parallels between both of their stories that we're drawing from. You know, there's like the pregnant characters, there's the father figures, you know, there's the aquarium and the museum, and even like the things that are different between the two characters, like, you know, how Ellie loves space, Abby's afraid of heights. Abby even goes as far as to like parallel the original game's journey in like a quick 10-hour campaign,
which I didn't catch on to until after analysis. Like I was actually Donkey's review that really shined some light that you were going through the same journey that you did in the first Last of Us.
I realized it once we got back to the trailer park the second time and got Yara and Lev out of that trailer park. I was like, okay, so this is going to be Abby's sort of like moral redemption and her change of heart as a character.
Mm-hmm. And go ahead.
Okay, no, something I'm just thinking about too. Like I thought a little bit about this, but like the major part of her story, I think she has her own like mini lesson contained within her story, in that she learns to look beyond prejudice. Yeah, because like they throw around the Seraphits, they throw around the term scars like it's a derogatory, the same way that we would use like a racial slur. Yeah. And throughout the campaign, she learns to sort of let that down and see people more as individuals, and even to some extent see that like her group is not so different from the Seraphites. And that's one thing that when we played as Ellie, I would get a little confused sometimes between the wolves and the Seraphites, you know, because I was like, these are both just weird fucking cults. Right now. Yeah. But fuck. Okay. No, I'm sorry. I'm having, no. I'm having revelations right now.
You're on it.
So when we play as Ellie and we're introduced to the scars, and I'm gonna call them scars sometimes. I don't think it really matters. Like they don't fucking exist. I can be racist towards them, right? No. I think we're supposed to see them as this creepy, weird cult, even as the player, and just be like, "What the fuck is this stupid shit all about?"
Yeah.
And then obviously, as we play as Abby, we go through the same journey that she goes in, unmasking the layers of this culture that's pretty fucking deep and rooted in like a good deal of like mysticism almost.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's honestly a shame to me that we didn't get to learn more about the Seraphates or the scars or because go ahead.
Okay. So I'm so sorry.
No.
Because at first I thought that like, you couldn't do a creepy cult and a mystic tribe in the same breath, but now I'm having the revelation that like that it works because of how the game sets it up. Mm-hmm. The first time we played through it, I didn't like them. I was like, this is some stupid fucking cult bullshit. I've seen this 1,000 times. What are you giving me here? And then, obviously we play as Abby's campaign. Guess what? I was wrong. They're pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. And I think that's just a brilliant way. Like Abby's so Ellie's campaign is all about spiraling towards a bottomless pit.
Yeah.
Where Abby's campaign is all about reaching out for that one light that no matter how bright it is.
So you would say that like Ellie's campaign is losing the light and Abby's is finding the light.
Exactly. And you'll have people saying like, "Oh, how can you be like forgiving of Abby for all the shit that she did?" And that's
we killed her fucking dad, dude. we killed the top surgeon of the entire world at that point. Like even if it wasn't Abby, like it would have been probably somebody else who knew this dude on a personal level. Like somebody would have killed Joel because Joel did a terrible fucking thing. But that's also the point of the game is like, like live and let live, or how far is too far.
Exactly. And like,
should I say lev and let lev? Well, because Abby almost kills Dina, right? And it's Lev who stops her. It's Lev who like gives her that bounce back to see the light and come back and realize that all this bloodshed is not fucking worth it. And this cycle is just going to continue unless someone fucking ends it, and someone has to end it.
Lev is based.
Lev is great, dude. I'm so dumb. I didn't know that Lev was like a trans character when I first played the game, and I knew about the dead name and everything too, because like when that's when like a trans person, that's their old name.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So they would call him Lily, and for some reason my dumbass didn't catch that was his dead name.
Oh, okay.
I thought that was just something that they called him.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what? Even though I knew there was a trans character somewhere in the game, I guess like I got so wrapped up in the game, I let that slip by me.
Yeah. And I don't know. I thought that inclusion was so smart.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I could talk about it for hours, honestly.
Because it doesn't draw attention to itself,
No.
It doesn't nail you over the head with it. It just presents you a character who questions authority like we all do at some point in our lives, wants to be a certain person like we all do at some point in our lives, and this person, Lev, helps Abby begin to question her own authority. She's already kind of on that tick anyway with Isaac, because Isaac wasn't going to go look for Owen, and she didn't think that was right. But even still, it was like it's Lev as the character who kind of helps her find, I think, more of herself.
Yeah, exactly. And Lev he's still pretty like into the Seraphite like ideology, but he does not use it as a stopping point.
It would be like the example between like good Christians and bad Christians. We could easily like talk about that, but I think that's all we need to say. We know exactly where that's going.
Yeah, and I think it's I absolutely loved his inclusion of it.
Yeah.
And no, there was something I wanted to say about Abby, but I don't know. I forgot it at this point.
That she's built like a fucking house.
God damn, dude. I lift pretty regularly, and for a while 180.
You can't get that jacked, can you?
For a while 185 was like my best bench, and she's like at 18. She's like, I hit 185 today. I'm like, God,
well,
damn.
Like, I mean, what would you? Because in her flashbacks, she's not, buff as shit. She is normal, and and seeking her revenge.
Strong looking though.
Is she? I don't remember. Like
she's not. She's not like she is in like the main
she's got like, it's like natural muscle though, given the circumstances. I think because I mean Ellie's probably got some muscle too that we don't see under that long shirt, but like she I lost my train of thought.
We're talking about how buff Abby was, but anyway.
I don't know. It's like, we see a gym, and there's other people who think like, oh, it's unrealistic that she would look like that. Like, how? There's a gym on their facility. Yeah. And if someone killed your dad and you were like vehemently seeking revenge on this dude, you would probably want to get jacked to fight some dude that you've probably heard in legend is like this fucking like phenomenally whatever the fuck you want to call Joel.
And not only that, but
Buff Daddy.
we'll refer to Joel as Buff Daddy.
Buff Daddy Joel.
No, but, and not only that, but like she was a soldier. She needed to be in good physical shape to.
Oh yeah. To kill all those fucking scars. Yeah. To be Isaac's top dog.
Yeah. But there was something about Abby's story that Abby's story, like, when I first started it, I was like, I still hated her.
Yeah.
But, like, it was amazing how through good characterization, they were able to bring me around to liking her almost more than I did Ellie.
Is that so?
Yeah.
I guess in the context of the story, yeah, because she becomes like the most selfless person. Yeah. Especially in the end game.
Oh my God.
Like it goes back to like, I guess, how far is too far, what can you forgive in a person? Because, forgiveness is another one of the main themes of the story. I guess, actually, do you want to take a break real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't know how long we've been going on for, but, I think we should just stop for a second. Yeah, we're going to take a break real quick. We'll be right back, guys. Stay tuned. Thank you for tuning in. Part 2 is coming in just a few seconds. You're tuning back in. We are back for part 2 of this podcast. We got sidetracked. I think we were talking about the characters, and then shit just went off the rails.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed that break. Hope you guys, went to the bathroom, got some water, ate some food, turned off the podcast, didn't come back because you were sick of it. Whatever you wanted to do. Yeah. Okay. So, because I guess we started talking about Lev, and then it just turned into Lev.
It turned into Lev, and then we started referring to Joel as Buff Daddy.
Buff Daddy Joel.
It just went too far, honestly.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah. Okay. Going back to like the character relationships. One that I wasn't a fan of the first time I played, but I appreciated the second time around was Jesse, and I think it was because I underestimated him as a character. Because when you see him, you know that he's like fodder, like.
Really? You thought that?
Oh yeah. The second I saw him, I was like, that dude's gonna fucking die. And I unfortunately kind of tuned out to him, and I feel really bad about that because, I really focused on him the second playthrough, and he's such a good character because he is a very like noble person, and he's just suave as shit,
He's a very and he is like Dina, relatively selfless, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Because he didn't even have to involve himself in the mess. He chose to, and that's when we meet up with him in Seattle Day 2. Because he goes out of his way to just find Ellie, and tell her like, "Hey, I would have come if you had told me."
Yeah,
but I was really focused on him and the pregnancy. And there was one scene where he was, we were going through the library and he was like, "I'm so excited to tell my mom about this kid. She's going to flip out."
Yeah.
And then he gets a bullet to the face.
Yeah. That did not hit me as hard as I thought it was going to.
No. And I wonder if it's because of how out of left field it felt, like if it was more built up, because like one sudden death is one thing. We already went through Joel's major death. At that point, anything else I think is just like boilerplate, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, trying to get feeling for Jesse, who's a new character, who, as good as he is as a character, is just kind of, probably whatever to most people. It's going to be hard to get that reaction. And I think they probably tried to set it up that way that you would get that reaction. But I don't know if it necessarily like hit the mark, unfortunately.
No, and I mean, he had the unfortunate bit of being new.
Fodder. Or new. New's a good way to put it. Better than my way.
Tomato. No, I loved Jesse. I wish I could have like gotten to know him better as a character, because he seemed like him and Dina and I can't really think of any other people. They were really like, they were examples of where humanity could, who humans could be.
They were the hopeful few.
Exactly. I can't think of.
Isn't there a game called We Hopeful Few?
We Happy Few.
We Happy Few. I heard that game's not that great though, so I'm not going to talk about it.
It's got a cool art direction.
It does. It looks like like cell shaded BioShock.
Yeah.
Or like if you took BioShock and Dark Cloud and like made a baby out of them.
Yeah.
But we're not here to talk about that. I don't know. I felt for Jesse the second time around. I wish I'd given him a chance the first time, because like when you know someone's fodder, like when you think you know what to expect from a character, you already kind of get a preconceived notion about them, and that was my unfortunate folly the first time. A character that I did not change my opinion on was Owen.
So you loved him from the beginning, and then you loved him even more the second time around. Am I right?
Nah, I didn't like him too much throughout the entire campaign.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think it was more to do with, unfortunately, I think he was pretty poor acted.
I honestly liked the way he was acted.
You think so? There were a couple of standout cutscenes where he did great. Like my favorite one of him is when he's talking about the old man who's the Seraphate. That was one time that he showed emotion. I know that his direction as a character was probably be a sarcastic dick, and I'm fine with like those moments. But there were some times where he just like fucking fumbled on the delivery. My favorite one is when it's the first flashback as Abby, and we rescue that zebra, and he just lets out this what does he say? He says, "Oh fuck," like just this unimpressed,
just
very like one take, like the mic was on by accident, like he was just reading it off the paper, and they were like, "All right, cut it, we're good." and it was like that for his character for almost his entire time, save for like a few cutscenes for me.
Yeah. Acting aside, I really enjoyed Owen's character, because
he was a good. That's what bums me out, because he was a good character. He was a very selfless character. I wouldn't say he might have been the most selfless character of the game. I don't know that for sure, but he was trying to include everybody, and he thought that he could like fix everything.
And he saw through clearly the bullshit of the WLF.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, he saw through it before, you hear about his revelation. And when you hear about his revelation, it just makes it that much more heartbreaking that the man's just broken at that point. And then him and Mel, like, I really, 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 well, since we're talking about Owen, I really, really, really liked the bizarre love triangle between him, Mel, and Abby.
Yeah.
Because there was weird tension between him and Abby throughout the entire game.
Yeah, like even when it was like in the present by themselves.
Yeah. And then but you know, he was, you know, sold, well, pretty much sold on Mel, and like that whole dynamic between the three I thought was awesome.
It was cool. I think like because well there's also a slight parallel you can draw between them and the three characters from the other campaign.
Yeah.
But it's a much different campaign because I think, you know, Jesse and Dina have a mutual respect for each other and have that understanding of, okay, we just weren't compatible. But for some reason, Owen and Abby couldn't make that connection, or Owen and Mel, depending on which two characters you think were better suited for each other.
Yeah. No, it was. I could talk about it a lot, but
yeah, I mean, if you got something to say, man,
well,
like
I just don't want to harp on that one aspect of it. But I guess I've been in the shoes of, I guess, Owen at that point, where you know, like you're holding a friend of, like, you're holding someone you used to be intimate with, like, as a friend, and then but you're dating someone completely different, and it's just that whole dynamic, and you have to be a master artist to handle it right. That whole dynamic is just bad juju. But
and it's that same scene that we were talking about earlier where Owen has that breakdown and, you know, realizes how bullshit and how transparent all of it is with the WLFs, that they reconnect in that physical way. But you can tell, like, just during that one fleeting moment, that's the only time they have that emotional connection. And any other time, they are like completely opposite.
Absolutely, yeah. And I don't know. I thought I wish we would have gotten to know Mel more than just.
I can't talk about her as far as a character because she's just pregnant and kind of a bitch.
That's literally her character.
Yeah, unfortunately. Like I bet she's cool in her own field. Like when she's a doctor, I bet she's like this chill, laid back person who likes to crack, you know, dead baby jokes or some shit. But
no, we don't really get to see much from her other than she does not like Abby and she's pregnant.
Yeah, and she has another out of left field moment where she tries to call Abby out on like nothing, and I'm still a little confused about what she's trying to do to Abby at that point.
Yeah,
like I don't think she's even aware that Abby and Owen had just gotten back together for that one moment.
No, and it's I don't know. I thought there I will say, like, throughout the entire campaign, Abby's section had some kind of odd character moments.
Yeah.
But like it held up enough. It held up enough that it's just something to gloss over. But like as far as some of the interpersonal stuff, like Abby's campaign could get kind of dicey as far as like, you know, characters talking to each other.
The inner working narrative, like the overall narrative is like fantastic and it's great. But like once you dig deep down and you focus more on, if you focus on Yara and Lev, I think that's where obviously where it really picks up because that's where your focus is supposed to be. But when you go back to the WLF characters, it all kind of starts to feel muddy and a little confused and contrived, I feel like.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially Isaac. Like I could have taken him or leaving him. Leaving? I could have taken or left him behind because he's sorely underdeveloped.
They should I know they wanted to put a face to the name Isaac because you've been hearing Isaac throughout the whole game. Yeah,
like you first hear about him in Seattle Day One downtown. There's just notes all over the place that talk about him.
And they almost did him a disservice by including him in the story.
Yeah, like he could have easily been a figure just in the shadows the entire time.
Yeah, and that I think would have delivered even more to the game's point about how, you know, not getting to understand someone else's story can distort, you know, who they are.
Yeah.
But instead, they decided to include him. And was he in 2 scenes?
He was in 2 scenes. He's wearing this weird fucking like Bill Cosby sweater.
Yeah.
Like he looks like a grandpa, and he's running a fucking army.
Yeah.
And then he dies.
Like,
he dies very unceremoniously in a way that is so like coincidental. You gotta pull some like major leaps to get to how he and Abby would be in the same place at the same time.
well, yeah. I think they just should have left Isaac. They should have given him, just should not have included him personally in the story.
Yeah, like he could have easily just been a force in the background the entire time. Like he didn't have to be anywhere in the game except for like in notes and in passing.
Yeah.
And that would have been really cool because it would have built on him as like a monolith and as like, you know, you don't see what goes on behind the scenes type of character.
Exactly. And they did not expound upon the leader or the lady who started the Seraphites either. You know?
No, I think, yeah, because you only see her in murals throughout the game. I think she does obviously have more of a presence than Isaac because you physically see more of her. Mm-hmm. So I think at the very least you have something to relate to, but I didn't realize that was who we fucking killed as Abby when she's being hanged for like 2 hours. It took me like a good point to realize that that's who that was.
Wait, what?
I'm pretty sure that's who that was.
Say that again.
That is that not? I thought that was who Abby like chokeholds with her thighs, like when she's being hung up.
It might have been. I don't think it. Well, all of the women in the Seraphite had the.
Oh yeah, they have her hair type. Yeah, so it might have been someone who they should have made a better character model for.
Yeah,
because that confused the shit out of me. Because they were talking about her being dead, and I like. That was my confusion and my disconnect with the Seraphates because Lev said, "Oh, you know, we didn't kill anyone like this until after she passed."
Yeah,
and I was like, "Did we not just fucking kill her?"
No,
I got confused about that part.
If I recall correctly, the Seraphites were at least like I wouldn't say generation, but like a version. Like I'd say the leader had been dead for maybe 10 years at that point. Okay. That's what I picked up.
Okay, so they had like a leader in spirit. So they literally just at that point became like a religion.
Yeah, exactly.
As a people. Okay.
Yeah. And since we're talking about characters, might as well dive into I can't think of it. Manny.
Oh yeah, Manny. I forget about him sometimes.
You know, they did a really good job of making me not want to like Manny, but in the end, I liked Manny, and
he's like Jesse's foil in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
because he's the similar type of like suave, cool guy who gets shot in the face.
Wow, we've got so much in common.
They should hang out sometime.
Are we shipping people now because we can ship Manny and Jesse?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Give me Joel and a bloater. 200.
But no, Manny was a character I would have liked to know more because he seemed to be this unlike Owen, who saw behind the curtain and didn't like what he saw.
Yeah,
Manny seemed to be the kind of person who understood what was behind the curtain, but realized deep down that it was his best possible chance of survival.
Yeah, and that's what I think's really cool about Abby's story, I guess, in terms of like her side characters, is like she does have like the devout WLF versus like the one who wants to go back and be part of the Fireflies. So
yeah,
I think she's obviously like torn between these two sides for the first at least day.
Oh yeah, yeah, and then her story starts to unravel.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I wish they would have developed Yara a little more.
A little bit, yeah, because she's a great character, and she's where a lot of Lev's growing up comes from, and lesson learning comes from, especially. Oh God, excuse me.
Yeah.
But she's where Lev gets a lot of his lessons from, because she's the one who helped Lev open up and understand his true potential, I feel like.
Yeah.
And then she I will say she dies in a blaze of glory. Like, good for her. At least her death, I feel like, was earned, but she just should have had more development.
And go ahead.
If you play the game, though, I think what could have done that was just a little more padding on Abby's side. Because what I noticed was Ellie's campaign is like 15 hours, but Abby's is only like 10.
Yeah.
Like her days go by so much fucking quicker.
Which I think was a point on the developers, because narratively, the risk that they took from doing all of Ellie's part, and then stopping it right there at this intense focal point, and then doing all of Abby's story to bring it up to the same point. Like, they understood that from a narrative standpoint, you stop at this cliffhanger.
Yeah.
You want to get back to that cliffhanger as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But if they were to, put even more time on Abby's story, it would have. I mean, people already found her section too long.
Right.
But
well, they just didn't like her. I feel like that was more of a bias, because her section I blazed right through in like a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Like it went by quick.
Yeah.
Especially with that Rat King. That's what they call. I'm so glad I figured out that's what they called it, because that is the perfect name for it.
That was I'm not scared by video games, really.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't say I was scared by that, but I was just like,
the intensity of that thing was insane. Like, it's a really good boss monster.
Really good boss. It reminded me.
I want to circle back to that too, because another one of Neil Druckmann's favorite films is No Country for Old Men. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I love that movie.
So I realized this before we started, but there's a very super strong chance that Ellie and Abby are in that hospital at the exact same time.
They are.
Yeah, and that is exactly what No Country for Old Men felt like, because there's no point in time. Like, the antagonist and the protagonist, they get so close to each other, but they never meet. They never see each other in person in that movie. And I thought, like, I was thinking back on the Rat King fight, and that's what clued me into the fact that, while Abby's fighting the Rat King, Ellie's probably off killing Nora in that exact moment. Mm-hmm. And that sort of storytelling is really cool to me, to think about how fucking close they were. Like, this game of cat and mouse that at least, Ellie's playing.
Absolutely. And then even back into Abby's campaign, where you hear about the sniper that's causing shit in Ellie's campaign, and then when you're as Abby, you are in that duel with the sniper who turns out to be Tommy.
Yeah, that was a really cool turnaround. And playing the game a second time, there's more moments like that you pick up on.
Yeah.
When you first get to the aquarium as Ellie, the room that you go through after you unfortunately kill Alice is the operating room where we have to, where Mel cuts off Yara's arm.
Yeah. And that was an interesting moment to me, because I was thinking, like, at that point, I was like, what the hell are they trying to do in here?
Yeah, like, it's really fucking weird and it's creepy. You don't know what's going on, and then it's just a simple operation. She just got to get her arm off. She's gonna die. Yeah,
I think there were a lot of really cool moments in that in the game where they. I mean, you mentioned it. There's two sides to every coin, and like, for every crazy reason we can theorize about, there's an explanation for it.
Yeah, and it's probably not the explanation that you want. It could just be like something as mundane as fucking gangrene.
Exactly.
Gangrene's not a mundane topic. But and it would be within the context of the Last of Us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they talked about Abby being in her cell when you were Ellie hunting down Nora. Yeah. And there were so many cool little parallels.
Yeah, because she got out. Yeah. When we were crawling through the vents, they were like, Abby escaped. Shit, man. So, like, I just want to think about that for a second. Like, if Ellie had just come in like 5 minutes earlier, she would have had Abby like right in her hands.
Yeah.
And that's wild.
Oh, yeah. And I just love how the game points those moments out.
Yeah.
And it adds to that theme of, how futile is this? you know?
Yeah.
But no. Anything, I'm trying to think. I'm lost on.
I think the only character we haven't really talked about is Tommy, because he's mostly a good character.
Yeah.
Until the third act, when he just gets weird.
But did you not kind of understand?
Yeah, I understand why, because he let the negativity like get to him and infest his brain.
Yeah.
And he needs that revenge because he thinks that's going to bring him satisfaction. And like that's obviously why he had his falling out with his wife Maria.
Yeah.
And that's why Ellie had her falling out with Dina. And now we can probably just get into the third act and get to the ending now.
Before we do that, we need to talk about the confrontation in the theater.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because that's where I think that's probably where, at least that's where I thought the game was going to end, at least. And I wonder.
Yeah, me too.
That's where most people probably did. Yeah. I knew when we were playing as Ellie that back end of the theater, I was like, this is like a setup for something. Like you could tell that there were places to hide and crawl around and shit. And I was like, something's going to happen here, but I don't know what yet.
Yeah. And then the game flipping, essentially you spent the entire game building up and leveling up one of the final bosses of the game, which I thought was so smart.
Oh yeah.
And that confrontation between Abby and Ellie, where Abby's hunting down Ellie and you have to play as Abby during that
it was so good.
Heartbreaking.
Oh yeah, because like you don't, and especially, and we'll get to like I guess the end later, because this and the end have the same sort of feeling, where like it's not something that you want to do, but as a player you're kind of forced into doing it.
Yeah. And man, there was a couple of times I died as Abby.
I died plenty of times in that moment.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The first time I died, I was like, well, she got her revenge.
I mean, yeah, that's the end of the game. I can put the controller. Like, if anybody doesn't like the ending of the game, just play that part and then just do nothing as Abby. You get your fucking ending.
You win.
There you go. Game over. You win.
And I don't know, that whole section was absolutely heart-wrenching because. Yeah. But not only was it heart-wrenching, it was fucking terrifying because Abby not Abby, well, Abby too, but Ellie at that point is an absolutely hardened killer.
Oh, yeah. She is a beast at that point. Like, she is so hard to fight unless you cheese it and throw a brick at her, which I figured out was the easiest way to do it.
And then, you know, we talked about it briefly, but the moment when, you know, you go through that fight, then she's got Dina, she's about ready to slit her throat. And like, I know you by proxy end up killing Mel earlier as Ellie, who was a pregnant woman. Yeah. And I was, and I don't know why. I think it was because, you know, I spent so much more time with Dina that I was like, no, like you can't kill her.
You can't kill Dina. Like, and it goes back to the whole, you know, two wrongs don't make a right. How far are you willing to go? You know,
exactly.
Type of deal. Like, when does the bloodletting end? Type shit.
And I was so happy that Lev was there to be like, chill, stop.
Yeah,
Cool.
And there's people who say that Abby didn't learn her lesson because she got to live. Dude, all of her friends fucking died.
Oh, yeah.
Like, she threw up when she saw Owen and Mel. You can't tell me she didn't feel something in that moment, because there are people who will try to argue that. They'll say, oh, she didn't learn her lesson because she didn't feel anything. Dude, she fucking threw up.
No, she felt something at the very least. And then, you know, she was just like, let me never see you again.
Yeah.
And now let's, I guess, go into the third act.
Can get into the third act. So I get why Tommy does it. It's still kind of weird to me because the way that he acts like such a brat, and it doesn't seem in line with his character. But I mean, I guess when you're pushed to that point, you're not going to be yourself. Yeah. So I have to learn to let go of that. Ellie's clearly suffering from PTSD at this point. Like, it is all over that opening of the third act. Like, not just the scene, like, because like the most obvious telling scene is obviously when she's going down the stairs, and it's a long stairwell, and she's got to run down the stairs, and she's hearing Joel screaming her name, you know, and the door is locked, and that's supposed to, like, you know, make you feel helpless, like, because Ellie felt helpless in that moment. And even still, you know, after that cutscene, the night that you go out, if you go into the room across the hall, there's her notebook. And in that notebook, it's just 2 entire pages of her, saying like, I can't eat, I can't sleep. I killed a boar. And as the boar died, it screamed and it sounded like Joel, and I can't deal with that. And there's all these moments that like remind her of Joel. And even like she writes this, because she writes like lyrics and poetry throughout the game sometimes.
Yeah.
The last thing that you see is her talking about being blind and how she doesn't know if she can go on living like this and whatnot.
Yeah. And which is brilliantly contrasted between, excuse me, from the beginning of that scene where everything is good. Everything is good.
She's painting. She does really good portraits of Dina and JJ.
And her and Dina, like I forget what song it was or what album they put on, but I used to listen to that record a lot.
Was Crooked Teeth.
That's right. I don't remember, but
I don't know, but it's a bop apparently.
I used to listen to that record a lot actually, and when they put that on, I was just like, okay, like everything's great. We can put Seattle behind us.
Yeah.
And then fucking Tommy.
Yeah. Tommy shows up. He acts like a little baby. He goes as far as to say, what a joke. You guys fucking suck. I wanted my revenge and you didn't give that to me.
Yeah.
And I think at that point he's supposed to be like, I'm not going to say the player, but any players who like wanted that and felt dissatisfied. They're Tommy. Actually, every player in the game who got shitty towards the game is Seth, that old fucking bald dude at the bar who was the bigoted asshole.
Seth.
Y'all are Seth. Chew on that, motherfucker.
No. But and again, it goes back to I guess how much I just wanted with every fiber of my being for Ellie and Dina to live out a peaceful life.
Yeah, but like, if she's got PTSD and it's like, if the seeds are constantly being like, set for her, she can't do it. Like,
no.
She says, I can't sleep. I have to do this. And Dina, she walks away.
Yeah. And I've actually talked to my brother-in-law about this. And do you think that Dina walked away and that's the end of their story?
See, I don't know, because the actual ending of the game, I think, it's heavily implied that she's going back to Jackson, because otherwise, there wouldn't be that note, I feel like, at the beginning of the campaign or at the beginning of the third act saying, hey, you guys are always welcome back in Jackson. One thing that I didn't notice that players picked up on that I did my second playthrough was throughout the entire Santa Barbara sequence, Ellie's not wearing that bracelet that Dina made for her. And then at the ending, once she gets back to the farm, she is wearing it. And I think the biggest seal for that deal is as Ellie's walking away from the house, she put the guitar on the windowsill. And what do we see as she's walking away on the guitar neck is that moth. And as we know, moths look for the light.
Yeah.
So she's going to look for the light, which in any case means she's probably going back to Jackson to see if Dina will forgive her. And if, forgiveness is the moral theme of the game, she's got a fair chance, I think, because she can just say, hey, I didn't kill Abby. I couldn't do it because I figured out that wouldn't, satisfy my need. Which brings us to the last cutscene with Joel.
Yeah, which to me gave so much context for why Ellie was so violent.
Yeah.
In lashing out against Abby.
Yeah.
Because Abby not only took away her father figure in that, but she took away her chance to forgive Joel.
Yeah, because at that point they just started to make amends, and she said, I don't think I can forgive you, but I'd like to try.
Yeah.
Because, Joel says the fucking, it's like my favorite line in the game where, he says, I would do it all over again.
Yeah.
Which again, brings me back to the first game where, the ending is something that I'm still not comfortable with, but hey, whatever,
Yeah.
I love it for that reason. I love being able to talk about decisions like that and what's right and wrong and just, the humanistic nature of it.
Absolutely.
But not only that, the other thing about it is Joel gives his blessing, like his approval of Dina.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that people miss. I don't know. Maybe they don't miss it. Maybe I'm just reading too far into it, but I think they do kind of miss that because, you know, I can see why someone who, you know, just died after you're starting to make amends and also say, hey, I think you two would be really great together. Like, that motivates you. And like living together in that situation, knowing you got what you want, but still this person's out there, that's gotta sting in some way. And that's why I think that's probably why Ellie says, I'm not like you.
Yeah.
You know, because that's not like a cheap shot at Dina for, you know, getting over things, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the extent of the flashback because, you know, there's the obvious. That's like the one time I think the word forgiveness is ever actually dropped in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's pull it back just a little bit more.
Oh yeah.
To the actual,
You want to talk about the Rattlers?
Yeah, we can talk about the Rattlers. The Rattlers are such a non-entity.
They're nothing. It's hard to say if they needed to exist, but like they're there. They are what they are. It's pretty cool, I guess, to see a side of a cult that's just like absolutely vicious and like loves the visceral murder and shit.
I think they did need to be in the game.
You think so?
Because throughout the entire game there is no black or white, it's just gray.
Yeah.
And the Rattlers really represented just pure evil in that one
That's
instance.
a good point. Yeah.
That Ellie nor Abby were really the bad guys.
Yeah.
And that it was, you know, these other people.
How cool is it that Ellie basically started a revolution amongst those prisoners, though?
Oh, that was so
is that not that's the satisfying conclusion I got, you know, from that. But now I'm going to talk about the part that I cheese now.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because
please.
this is the section of the game that I was able to cheese pretty easy. So in between the you know, the pool house where they have the infected chained up.
Yeah.
In between there and the last stage, there's this hallway that you can camp in, and like they'll come in one at a time, these fucking guards. Like no matter how many guards there are, there's like 20 fucking guards in this section.
Yeah.
You can camp out in that hallway and they'll come in one at a fucking time. You can either melee them, you can set a trap mine. I just sat in this corner because it's blocked off perfectly to where like half the hallway is open and half of it is sectioned by a barricade. So you can hang out in that back half, and at the end of it is the doorway that leads out to the food court, right? And you can just cheese that whole section with like trap mines and arrows and fucking melee weapons and shit. I did that and I'm proud of it because fuck it, that section would have been hard otherwise.
No, it was, I tried to stealth my way through everything, and that was one of the most difficult stealth sections.
Oh, it really tests your fucking limits on how well you can like, you can, what do you call it when you're walking around on the grass?
Prone crawl.
Yeah, you can prone crawl.
Whatever.
Yeah, but no, that I cheesed that whole section and I loved it because I was also playing on hard plus, and up until that point I was, you know, it was a really fair challenge on hard plus, I think. But I guess I can see why the Rattlers were important because they do show you like the black side of things, or like the pure evil side of things. And I guess from a narrative perspective, it makes sense to sort of put both characters in a grounded level playing field where no one's got an advantage.
Yeah, and speaking of advantages, like when you go to the pillars, which I will say, like when I got out, the game is full of beautiful cinematography.
Absolutely.
And that the way that they framed the pillars is sorry for the slap. That's going to be hell to mix out.
This is an amateur podcast. Nothing, everything's made up and the points don't matter.
Anyway, when you see the pillars, the way that is framed with the moon shining through and casting the rays is one of the most disturbing shots.
It's fucking chilling. It is haunting as fuck because like it's just these pillars and you can see the pillars, but you can't quite see the bodies on the pillars until you get closer. And then as you see more, it reveals more and you're just like, fuck, that's messed up. These dudes are disgusting.
And then on top of all that, I was like, on my playthrough, I was looking for Abby, and I saw someone with a long ponytail, and I was just like, why can't I interact?
I might have too, actually. I think they threw that in there to throw you off.
I wouldn't put it past them.
Like to maybe give you like an immediate like moment of like, oh fuck, she's already dead. Well, okay, that is what it is. And then like maybe she's like even like behind this person, so you turn around and see the actual Abby.
Yeah, and the actual Abby is a broken husk of who she was.
Oh yeah, she is just down like she lost all of her muscle mass. She lost her hair, which I think is the more crucial thing.
Yeah.
Cuz like that hair I think is part of her personality, cuz she was the only character I think to have a braid like that in the game.
Yeah.
And these people clearly just love to humiliate people.
And she like, and I thought, I was like, it's like, well, first off, I thought Ellie was just going to stab her on the thing, but no, she lets her down. Yeah. And I was thinking like, oh great. Yeah. Like Ellie's coming around. She sees how dire straits, and Abby's like, there's a boat over here. Did you have to cut down Lev as well?
No, Abby lets Lev go.
Okay.
Yeah, because Lev is her only concern. She does not give a fuck about you at that point.
Yeah. And then you're getting in the boat, and then Ellie's like, no, we're doing this right here.
Yeah.
And then that whole fight plays out. And I don't know if, I mean, there's been scenes in video games that I've like I've gritted my teeth through.
Yeah.
But that was the one I was just like, I don't like the game demands you to make these contextual button presses. And I'm like, I don't want to do any of this.
See, for me, that was the entire Santa Barbara section.
Yeah.
It was very similar to the hospital sequence from the first game, where I felt uncomfortable just doing all of it, because as far as I cared, the lesson was over and done. We figured out what we needed to do, but that's not what the game wants you to figure out. The game wants you to go as far as you can go. The game wants to show you how far too far actually is.
Yeah.
And that fight is like final fight MGS4 levels of good.
Yeah. 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 And then, but when you've got Abby in the water, did she already have your fingers at that point? Like,
no, you start drowning her, then she takes your fingers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, when it was about like Ellie could have just,
she could have done it.
She could have done it. And I was just like, I don't want to fucking do this, but here I am mashing square at 2 a.m, just like, come on, don't do this.
Well, what you see right before she decides she can't do it is, every time that she has a flashback of Joel that isn't like a main story, like it's him, like, the disgusting face, like the dying face.
Yeah.
Before she has the chance to kill Abby, what she sees is Joel just, strumming his guitar on his porch, just having a good time. And I think that's the light that she finally sees,
And then, then she lets Abby go.
Yeah. Which people are pissed about. And I can't understand that. It's like, did we not play the same game?
In a weird way, I kind of understand it.
Do you?
And here's why I understand it. Because the game makes such a point about going as far as it needs to go.
Yeah.
That for them to pull back and, not have Abby dead, I think some people see it as Naughty Dog pulling their punches.
Okay.
But at the same time, like at the end, when it was all said and done,
yeah,
Abby didn't need to die. Like,
no.
And that was the entire point. Like, and because frankly, the game makes you feel like shit regularly.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
and that one point where Ellie decides to let Abby go, it's like, finally, Ellie makes a rational decision here.
Yeah. And I think like she finally realizes, obviously, like, killing this person's not going to give me the satisfaction. But there was one part of the before in the notes where, where we're doing the beginning of the third act.
Yeah.
Where she says that Dina thinks that I should talk about Joel. And that's probably, obviously more of what needed to happen as opposed to seeking revenge. But that's not the side of the story we get, and I don't want to speculate on what we don't see. We're here to talk about what we do see. But I think, that's Ellie obviously finally realizing that there's just a different way to go about it.
Yeah. And that, the entire time she wasn't really seeking revenge for Abby. She was trying to find a way to forgive Joel.
Yeah. Okay. I get what you're coming from, because since she never got her killing Abby is her fully forgiving Joel and saying, okay, this is, I forgive you for doing this to me now.
Yeah.
And she thinks that by killing Abby, she can retribution is the word, right?
Yeah.
She can show retribution towards Joel for what he did to her.
Exactly. And obviously she, decides to not go through with it.
Okay. Yeah. That's not something that I picked up on, unfortunately.
I
did pick up on, though, the fact that when Abby bites off Ellie's fingers, that's supposed to be Mel and Owen. I feel like it anyway. Because it's, it's the two people. I could be reaching there, because I like to reach sometimes. It's fun.
Yeah, reaching it's never a bad thing.
Yeah,
but,
no.
And her biting off the two fingers. We'll fast forward back to her picking up the guitar for the last time.
Yeah, and now she can't play it.
Well, I mean, Django Reinhardt.
Okay. Well, to be fair, if she wants to, she could set up an open tuning and try to find some American football records.
Yeah.
Or I guess at that point, canonically, there would only be the one American football record.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So she could find LP1, tune it to open C or whatever, and just learn how to play Never Meant. She would be fine. Ellie's got to go through that revelation that every kid goes through that loses somebody, that American football is the fucking band for that.
Yeah. Do you know who Django Reinhardt is?
I don't, unfortunately.
So Django Reinhardt was a guitarist, I think music historians are going to freak out, but I want to say in the late 20s.
Okay.
But we're gonna say that.
We're gonna say late 20s.
If I'm right or wrong, he had these two, the ring and the pinky finger, blown off before he ever started playing guitar. Okay. And invented a style of guitar called gypsy jazz.
Okay.
And the entire time I was thinking, hell yeah, Ellie's going to finally pick up on some invent gypsy jazz for the post-apocalypse. But
yeah.
But no, back on a more serious note, I thought that scene of her, not being able to play Pearl Jam's Future Days.
Yeah. Have you seen Neil Druckmann's excuse for why that's in the game?
Yeah.
I love it. That dude's got a reason. Does he have a reason for Hotline Miami, though? Because technically, the Vita could exist if we assume that the apocalypse took place in 2013.
Yeah.
But Hotline Miami is a game that, at least as far as the Vita port was concerned, probably wouldn't have come out until 2016 or so. So what's your excuse
game
there, Neil Druckmann?
0 out of 10.
Fuck you, man. Don't have a reason for that.
No, I heard his reasoning for Future Days, and I was like, whatever.
It is what it is. I can believe it. It's sure you got to pull, but whatever.
And I mean, I don't know if you know Pearl Jam fans, but they are the kind of people who find those rare brand new songs on YouTube and learn them before they're ever put to record.
So Joel was a Pearl Jam diehard.
Well, there is no casual Pearl Jam fan.
So it's like Coheed in that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know my brother-in-law is a diehard Pearl Jam fan, so so I understand. But when she was playing that song and she couldn't play it, I love that. I not a huge Pearl Jam fan, but I love that line. If I ever were to lose you, I'd surely lose myself.
Yeah, that's a key line for the entire game. That's the motive for the entire game, really.
Exactly. And the fact that she wasn't able to play it anymore, knowing how important music is to me, and especially how important music is to you, and how important it was to Joel and Ellie as their common bond.
Yeah.
Like that absolutely broke my heart into a billion pieces.
Yeah, it is the last symbol of her having to lose everything in order to like gain herself back, which I don't think that's a bad lesson.
No.
I do understand, like, there are like the people who criticize the game for like not liking the lesson. I can understand not liking the lesson, you know? Like I can understand thinking that this isn't the type of game that should be sending that message. I'm fully okay with that, you know. I just like dogging on shit posters. It's so much fun.
But you're kind of swinging around to it. That, and I wanted to mention it earlier, but it was way too early, I should say. And that's what I love the message of this game. I love the message of the game.
Yeah.
And that is because like I mean, I'm not going to get into the weeds of it, but especially on the internet, which is funny because we keep on bringing up the internet,
like it's a thing that exists anymore.
Yeah.
I wonder what Ellie and Abby would think if they went on like Metacritic and saw the reviews for their own game. Pull them out in the fucking meta world for a second.
But it's really interesting to me, like how the game's overall idea is that, especially in where we are right now in 2020, how conversation is so one-sided that learning the other side of it.
Yeah, like because nothing can be opinion-based. It's either right or wrong, you know.
Yeah.
And there's no gray area or room to improve and contextualize, you know.
Yeah, and that's what I loved about this game's central idea is because, you know, especially like among broken people, like the only thing we have to hang on to is each other.
Yeah, especially as musicians, because trust me, musicians are very broken people.
Yeah.
That's why we write music.
Yeah. And one of my favorite Joe Strummer quotes is, you know, people are, I'm going to botch it. It's one of my favorite quotes and I'm going to botch it. But
is it the one that he says over the beginning of his cover of Redemption Song?
Maybe.
Okay.
I'm not too.
People will do something or whatever.
You need.
I don't have my phone on me, so I can't look it up. But
essentially,
go listen to his cover of Redemption Song. It's fucking great. Or listen to Bob Marley's original. It's great too. It doesn't matter. Whichever version of that song is a banger.
But no, it boils down to you know, you need people, like, because we can bicker and bitch all day at each other, but at the end of the day, each other is all we've got.
You know what is poetic irony for the game, and I hope that eventually it kind of subsidiates a little bit, is that if the moral and the message of the game, if the biggest one you could argue is forgiveness, people should just fucking forgive Neil Druckmann for writing a good goddamn story.
Well, how can they do that when he made a shit game?
0 out of 10.
0 out of 10.
You killed my hero. My hero that damned the entire planet.
No, I know. I keep doing that, but I love.
It's so much fun.
It's so much fun. But no, yeah, you're spot on. Like, not only maybe I don't know if they can forgive him, but like it's you know,
especially like. Think about it this way. Like I watched a 101 Game Facts about the first game.
Yeah.
And he's the creative director of this game and he's the creative director of the first game. He's the OG creator of The Last of Us. He came up with the initial idea and like he was trying to sell this game to so many companies for a while. Like if anyone should be able to dictate where a story goes, I'm not going to say 100% that it should always be the OG creator. Because, you know, sometimes they can, you know, they can fuck things up too.
Yeah.
But if it's a good story, just let him fucking tell it. Like he clearly has something he wants to say and he's using video games as that medium.
Yeah.
You know, like sure, it's here for your entertainment, but it's also a storytelling device. And we need to see Last of Us 2 more as that way as opposed to like a fucking couch game, you know?
Yeah. And it's such a unique avenue to tell a story about empathy and forgiveness.
Yeah.
Because video games since the dawn of Mortal Kombat are all, well, you know, I shouldn't say all video games, but it's all about, you know, overcoming your opposition and, you know, in some cases brutally murdering them. And The Last of Us 2 is about that, but it's about, it's about making you think about what happens after the fact.
Yeah. And I'm gonna draw another parallel real quick. We've drawn so many parallels, specifically to Konami.
Yeah.
Which is weird to me.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna talk about Silent Hills 1 and 3, and I don't you don't care if I spoil those at all.
Oh, yeah, I would love it if you did.
Okay, so when I was playing The Last of Us Part 2, I just kept getting this uncanny feeling about Silent Hill 3 because it's almost like verbatim, at least like the plot, the exact same. Because Harry Mason is the protagonist of the first game, and he's someone I would consider a hero because he goes out and he does he's looking for his daughter, sure, but I think he's doing it selflessly because she's a 7-year-old girl and he's got to find her. She's terrified.
Yeah.
But anyway, we play as him in the first game. Second game is like a non sequitur, does its own independent story, but the third game we play 17 years later as his daughter, and I'm not gonna explaining the plot of how it all works out in Silent Hill is too fucking much.
Yeah.
But Harry has an unceremonious death the exact same way that Joel does, except it's all off screen.
Yeah.
We walk into the apartment after I would say the first third of the game, expecting to see Harry happy and healthy, and he's just dead on the couch. And I guess part of why I was able to digest Last of Us 2 easier than most people might have been that I've already gone through that with Harry Mason.
Yeah.
Who absolutely did not deserve to die the way that he did, but he died at the hands of a cult leader who, wanted to bring Heather back to Silent Hill to perform the ritual of birthing their god.
Yeah.
Silent Hill's fucking great, man. You should play the first 4 and don't play the rest of the fucking series. Because that's when Team Silent stopped, and there are plot holes aplenty from then on. But
I hate to see it.
That's also part of why I'm biased towards OG creators, giving them their freedom.
Yeah.
Because Team Silent disbanded, and ever since they've just been fucking up that franchise.
Oh yeah,
I fucking hate Konami these days, man.
Especially because they almost had Hideo Kojima on a rebirth of Silent Hill, which I don't know if it would have been good or not. But did you ever play PT?
Oh yeah, I fucking loved it, but it wouldn't have been Silent Hill.
No, that's true.
It would have been great, but as long as it would have been good, I can kind of divorce myself from the original because it would have been a soft reboot anyway.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been a continuation of Silent Hill.
Metal Gear Silent Hill.
Metal Hill.
Metal Hill. Anyway.
But, I guess that's part of why I already had an easier time digesting Joel's death and processing it is because when I was a teenager, I had to go through that with Harry Mason in Silent Hill. And the tone of the game, it sets it up differently because it's not trying to make you want to seek revenge. I think it's just trying to make you feel empathy for Heather at that point.
Yeah.
But that's basically all I wanted to touch on with Silent Hill is that when I was playing this game, I was like, fuck, dude, this is Konami did this 18 years ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So you mentioned that you had some gripes with the gameplay earlier.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
So, okay, I know that, the menus, when you're switching weapons, they're the exact same as the first game. They're a little fumbly, but they take getting used to.
Yeah.
I don't remember if in the first game you can craft silencers and different ammo types.
You couldn't.
That part is so fucking clunky to me, trying to keep in mind if you've got your silencer equipped, how to equip it. I think they mechanically they probably could have done quick keys for equipping the silencer, because if your weapon's ready, there's already different button prompts anyway.
Yep.
It would have been easy to just ready your weapon and then press a different button to equip or de-equip silencer without having to go through that menu.
Yeah.
My biggest gripe with the mechanics and gameplay of this game is that when you craft explosive arrows and incendiary shotgun shells, they are automatically equipped, and that pisses me off because I didn't want to fucking use them. I would make them in advance as a preparatory measure for what was to come, always forgetting every time that they were going to be the one I used, and I fucking wasted so many goddamn shotgun shells.
Man.
There's also one fucking ladder puzzle in the whole game.
Ladder puzzle. Oh,
Yeah.
Did you like the ladder puzzles?
In the first game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved them. I thought they were great.
Okay.
I thought they were cool. Like, they were a new way to, like, make you think about the environment around you.
Yeah.
And I was so disappointed because, like, I thought the rope puzzles were fine.
Yeah.
I could take them or leave them. But, like, I was playing through Ellie's campaign and we got most of the way through hers. And it hit me. I was like, where the fuck are the ladders? And then we play as Abby and we get one and it's decent. And it's just decent. It's okay.
So what you're telling me is Joel wasn't the only tragic death.
No, R.I.P. ladders. Joel, the reason why is because Joel fell off a ladder. That's how he actually died. So there's a bias towards ladders now.
Ladders out, ropes in 2020. No.
To be fair, the rope physics are great. You can tell that they are, I think, kind of leftovers from Uncharted 4, though. Like they had this cool like physics engine that they wanted to show off, and they did that through The Last of Us, which is okay. It's fine.
See, it's funny you say that because the ladders and the pallets in The Last of Us 1, I always did because they were
Because you had to.
because I had to.
Yeah. See, I don't know, because I remember even like the environments based around those puzzles, in my opinion, because of how good they were. But you also got to understand that like I grew up playing survival horror games with the most obscure, obtuse, stupid puzzles.
Yeah.
If you play Silent Hill 3 on hard mode puzzle difficulty, you have to know fucking Shakespeare to solve one of these. The first fucking puzzle, you have to know Shakespeare. You got to put these playbooks in order and you have to like know. And then like there's one puzzle in a hospital where you have to do long division to solve it.
Wait, so you're telling me that Silent Hill, like, it scales its puzzle difficulty on what your difficulty is?
No, there's combat difficulty and they're separate. Yeah.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah. No. They at least had that figured out to where like the first game didn't do that. The first game they're both the same, but from 2 to 3, the puzzles and the combat were divorced, and you could choose like easy puzzles or hard combat or whatever you wanted. Yeah.
Okay.
So, those were my major complaints with the mechanics. I also, the last big thing, which I think was probably more my fault than the game's fault, because I just didn't understand like the character weight and how they move and whatnot for a while, was anytime I wanted to bum rush somebody, if I was crouching, instead of just running, these motherfuckers would have to like uncrouch, shift their body weight forward, and then go. And by the time they turned around, I was on the fucking ground.
Yeah.
Like that took a lot of time getting used to, but that was probably just me being bad at the game more than the game just like being, bad mechanically.
Well, that, and have you ever played any of the FromSoft games like Dark Souls or?
No, I've always wanted to dabble in those, but I also, like, on the other hand, I can't get it past the aesthetics of those games. I don't think they look that great.
Oh, really?
So like that, for some reason, that to me, I can't get. Bloodborne is the only game, or Sekiro. Like the spinoffs are the ones that I feel like I would enjoy because I love the art direction of those two games in particular.
Well, I'm just going to say this right now.
Sure.
Bloodborne is the greatest game ever made.
Should I play Bloodborne then? Fuck.
It is. Like, I've played through that game. Like, I played through that game at least 20 times.
Okay.
But I digress. The character movement in that is so precise. Literally, if you're standing with your back to the camera and you flick the analog stick, they're immediately turning towards the camera.
Okay.
So, like, are you saying that that's more like what you would want The Last of Us for, or?
I don't know, because once I got used to it, I was okay with it.
Yeah.
It took like my second playthrough to finally get used to it, because I like characters in games. I know that it's very like, situational how you want the character to feel.
Yeah.
And for a realistic, grounded game like The Last of Us, you're not going to want like arcadey movements,
No.
Like you're not going to want a character to, like you don't want Ellie to run like fucking Breath of the Wild Link, where he just does whatever the fuck he wants whenever he wants, So it's hard to say, because, I do feel like if there is a criticism, you should also provide a way, like a solution to that criticism. And if I don't have a solution, then, that's why I think it was more just me being bad at it than it being bad itself.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, as far as the gameplay, there were so many parts of the original Last of Us that I thought I was just doing just to get to the cutscenes.
Yeah.
The Last of Us Part 2, I adored every second of the gameplay.
Nice. That's good.
Especially because I mentioned earlier how I tried to stealth my way through most encounters.
Yeah.
But some of my favorite parts were when those encounters went tits up.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like when you think you're doing well and then something just bad happens.
And then all of a sudden.
And it's panic. You go into like it's pure reflexes at that point.
And I loved it because at that point I wasn't in like most, I guess, action games. I'm like, all right, I'm going to pull out my favorite gun and clear out the whole thing. It was just like, what do I have right at this what do I have out right at this second?
Yeah.
And what can I use it for? And,
what was your favorite encounter in the whole game?
Favorite encounter? That's a good question.
Also, did you notice, and this is, again, my memory of the first game is as old as dirt, but I feel like there was a lot more emphasis on human combat than there was infected combat in this game. I feel like if I remember the first game correctly, it was more of an even bag, like a 50-50 split, it felt like, but this game really hammered in the humanistic combat of it.
Oh yeah, I think that's true. Again, it's been a while since I've played the original Last of Us.
Yeah.
But no, I agree with you there. As far as favorite encounter goes, I'm gonna have to err on the side, or I'm gonna have to say the hospital as Ellie when you are making your run.
When you kill Bear.
Kill Bear. That's my favorite point of the game. Number one. Even when I was playing fetch with that motherfucker, I was just like, "You're dead now." No. I loved that because I was so like the environment was. I think I loved it because I perfectly stealthed my way through it. Like they did not. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah.
I had that was one of my harder ones.
I don't know what happened. I was just in a zen-like state where nobody could see me.
Yeah.
What about you? What was your favorite encounter?
I have two. My first one, which is my most favorite because of just how well I think it really like set up the environment, was one of Abby's final scenes in the third day of Seattle in the building where there's just like the flooded water and you can swim to avoid, detection and all that.
Yeah.
I had so much fun with that. It was so cool to just like, snap a guy, jump back underwater because, you would get caught pretty often in that and you have to like know to dive immediately. And I thought it was really cool how they took like the grass aspect of it and like kind of flipped it around.
Absolutely.
To where like you're on like this playing field of kind of sandboxy, but still really dangerous because if you get too close, they'll see you, they'll shoot you.
Yeah.
My other favorite one was in the tunnels where it's both infected and soldiers. Because you could just throw a bottle and the infected would just swarm the fucking the soldiers. And at that point, like if you're good enough, if you hide in the right spot, you can wait out the entire fight and then just have to deal with the clickers.
That was probably if you were like me, I would always throw the bottle, let them have fun, and then I'd just
you just snuck off to
the next area.
Yeah, I waited it out because like sometimes playing the game, I would be kind of like in the background, like kind of like not in cowardice, but just in like, all right, I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen. I gotta wait this out and see what's going on.
Yeah.
But no, for the most part, I liked how the game sort of set up each stage. Like there was like easy, medium, hard, and then harder.
Yeah.
Like I feel like every play area had like 3 or 4 sections and each one like ramped up in difficulty.
Yeah. And always ended in a
fucking hellish
boss encounter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that bloater at the end of Abby's campaign. And then the Rat King at the end.
Fucking Rat King. There were a couple. Were there any that you thought that were too cheap or that you didn't like?
Any encounters?
Yeah.
That's the thing. No. For the first time, like especially in the first Last of Us, I take that back. There was another encounter I really loved, and that was the what do you call them? The scaffolding in the when you're playing as Abby and Lev is taking you around these cool little spots.
yeah.
Love that. But
That was one of my hardest ones. I had such a difficult time with that one.
oh, I did too, but I was just having so much fun that I didn't care.
Yeah.
But for the first time in a Naughty Dog game since I think Uncharted 2, there's not been a spot where it was like, okay, can I just not have this room of encounters?
Oh yeah, okay, that's cool though.
Yeah, like for whatever reason in Naughty Dog games, I get in this rhythm where I want the story more than I want the action.
Yeah,
and I never, like in Last of Us 2, I never reached that. It was always just cool. Like everything was perfectly balanced.
That's really cool though. That's good.
How about you?
Yeah, I did have one when you're playing as Abby, and it's sometime after you meet Lev and Yara, and you're stuck in that building, that small ass fucking building, and they just keep throwing clickers and infected.
Oh,
and they throw they throw shamblers at you. And I was playing on hard plus, and I could not deal with. I died so many times trying to get through that. That was the one time where I felt like it was more the game's fault that I kept dying instead of my own fault. Because I feel like they threw you in that situation unfairly.
Yeah.
But that was I think the only time that I was like, okay, this section is just like not good right now.
Yeah, and I absolutely understand that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
I don't know. I mean, like we talked about the themes. Was there more about the moths you want to talk about earlier?
The moths.
Or did we cover that?
Yeah, I think I brought it up about how, the parallel wings on the outside.
Yeah.
I love butterflies. I'm such a yes. There's one theme that I mean it's very prevalent in the original Last of Us 2, and it's how overgrown everything is. And it doesn't really have anything to do with the story at large, except it's something that I really picked up on. And that is this constant feeling that nature will retake what was it.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I love that about how the game kind of pits these petty squabbles against what is really and true a petty squabble, I should say, against the backdrop of a unstoppable force that is regaining itself even after all of the damage that has been exacted upon it. Okay. And I because Seattle, as far as flora goes, it's beautiful. There's grass and trees growing everywhere.
Especially in the buildings, even in the taller buildings, nature's retaking these areas.
Yeah, but that's just me. I'm such an outdoors nerd. So I take it anytime a game presents me with pretty outdoor areas, I'm just
this is better than real life.
Why do I go hiking? Hiking sucks. Video games are great.
Shit, I can go video game hiking anytime.
Well, that's what Death Stranding. That's all Death Stranding is.
That game is weird because I like that it's set in America, but it was shot and landscaped based off New Zealand.
Yeah.
I guess that's the place to do it though, because New Zealand's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about I guess before I've completely forgot about this. I wanted to talk about if what the differences between plot and story are, because some people can't seem to look past those.
Yeah. Let's talk about it because I'm interested.
So there is a difference between plot and story.
Yeah.
The plot's the thing that just plants the seeds, and then the story is what grows. Or another way to look at it is the plot is the surface level that gives you the shovel to dig for the story itself. The plot of the first game is Joel and Ellie go across country to drop Ellie off for the cure, but the story of it is wildly different. It goes so much deeper. And the story of the first game is that Joel needs to learn how to kind of get his humanity back after losing his daughter through this cross country journey with this girl who parallels his own daughter. And similar to The Last of Us 2, the plot is a revenge plot, but that's not what the story is, because we've talked about the whole story.
Yeah.
But the thing that sets you down is the revenge plot,
Exactly.
And I just wanted to touch upon that just because I know like people, like, it's hard to divorce that for some people.
Well, and that's what there's been a lot of talk of The Last of Us 2 being a lazy revenge story. And
Yeah.
I always think, how can you say that a game that goes out of its way to pull some really unconventional narrative tricks?
I mean, we talked for like probably 2 hours about it just now.
Yeah.
Like shit.
Yeah, how can you say that? Well, I guess I don't know. Again, maybe I don't understand. Maybe they are award-winning screenwriters.
Yeah, maybe these guys who are complaining about the game are critically acclaimed directors and writers, and we just don't know it.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Apparently, a lot of people work in Hollywood, and not only do they work in Hollywood, but they make the greatest movies ever made.
I mean, they know better than Neil Druckmann how to write a compelling narrative.
Exactly.
Where the tables are constantly being turned.
Yeah, we just don't understand. But,
yeah, I'm just dumb as fuck. I mean, I'm pretty dumb as fuck, but
that's another time.
That could be an episode in of itself. Why the fuck am I so stupid? Why didn't I get this game? That's part 2 of this podcast. Why didn't we get it? But no.
Yeah.
Is there any like fun things you noticed about the game though? Just like to kind of like, you know,
fun things.
Breath of fresh air.
Well, did you explore the music store?
I did, yeah.
Did you get to see the Aha cover?
No, I didn't. Oh no, yeah, I did. I when you said cover, I wasn't thinking of cover song. I was thinking of like
physical cover. No.
Yeah, no, that was great. Yeah.
I loved that.
I love that that's a point that you can miss.
Yeah, me too.
And I you know, it makes it more special that way because it adds to the story of like, well, I got to see this. Like it's the same with the hat thing.
Yeah.
You know? One thing I noticed, and I'm going to laugh if this is actually what this is supposed to be, but there's one photograph, when you see the whole photographs of all the characters in order, there's 2 characters that are Nick and Nora. And I'm wondering if that's just a really weird coincidence or like if it is like just a cheeky little, you know.
You think there's some infinite playlist that goes on infinitely?
There's some playlists that are going on forever in this game. I mean, if music's a big part of the game, I can see why somebody would, you know, throw that in. It's just
Absolutely.
a little reference. There's also like, you know, I've seen on Facebook, there's just a lot of like, you know, there's the other Naughty Dog games that are present. There's a PS3 in the game.
There's multiple PS3s.
One that kind of broke my heart a little bit was in Joel's house on his nightstand is a Space for Dummies book.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that made me sad.
Yeah, and the man's guitar collection was
fucking
choice
aces. Fucking Taylors, man.
I know. Speaking of guitars, did you enjoy the guitar section?
Yeah, I tried to play some of my own songs on it, but I couldn't. It was pretty hard to play I Don't Give a Shit, even though that song's just 3 chords.
Yeah. No, I thought that was so like, you know, you play guitar, I play guitar.
Yeah.
I was sitting there thinking, I was like, damn, like, I'm just going to not play guitar and boot up The Last of Us to write songs.
Virtual. This game, why do you need real life? This game has everything, dude. Just live in it.
It's got guitars. It's got
like find someone who can like mod the game to work in VR for you, and then just like live in it.
No, thank you, but
but you don't want to live in a post-apocalyptic world where there's no cure for a deadly virus.
Yeah. Well, I got to be careful on how I answer that question.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this game up and down. I don't know if there's anything that we need to say.
There is one more thing I wanted to say.
Go for it.
That was, and I mentioned it earlier, and you kind of brought it up right now. It was how surreal playing this game was in the midst of a pandemic.
I think it was done on purpose as a joke.
So
that's me being shitty. Don't take that as me. You know.
So Neil Druckmann,
he was aware as the game was being developed that the virus was gonna hit. He had inside info, right?
So you're telling me Neil Druckmann started the coronavirus?
Yes, Neil Druckmann started the coronavirus just so he could release this game in the middle of a pandemic.
0 out of 10. Shit
Fucking
game.
shit game. Neil Druckmann has killed so many people, not just Joel, damn it.
Yeah, just for a shitty game.
Just for a shitty game.
No, but no, like I would be walking through stores, and especially like a restaurant or something like that, and
Yeah.
I'd see like breakdowns on how to wash your hands properly, or just little touches that I'm just like, oh hey, like I saw that, like
I just saw that. Where was that? Oh man.
yeah, it was really surreal playing through the game at certain spots, and no, like I wouldn't say it hit harder, other than just like, you know, what a time to be alive.
Amazing story to tell for generations to come. Y'all hear about how Neil Druckmann killed humanity for the sake of a video game?
Yeah, I mean, it was brilliant marketing, honestly.
Oh, the last thing on my notes, which I guess we could have dabbled into earlier, but it's not even that big of a point. I just thought it was something cool that I noticed was, when the Rattlers first kidnap Abby and Lev.
Yeah.
She's got her own moment of being on the ground, helpless, looking at someone that she cares about. And I think, that's just her kind of walking a mile in Ellie's shoes.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, the Rattlers were some evil fucks.
Oh yeah, dude, they did some sick shit. Like sick as in awesome. I loved it. I want to join that gang because there's no rules. First rule, there's no rules. Do what you want.
I'm trying to remember exactly what you're talking about because it has been 3 weeks, and I have started Resident Evil 2 since then.
Okay, so what you're gonna notice about Resident Evil 2 is that it has much better safe combination gameplay than The Last of Us Part 2.
No way, dude. No,
you don't think
way.
so?
I think safes, dude. Okay,
I like the safes. I just wish that I'll let you go ahead though.
But I mean, here's the thing: Last of Us 2, you can crack safes just by listening to them.
What? Can you really?
Yeah, you really can.
Is that a thing?
That's
How?
confirmed. That is confirmed because it will make it's a really subtle sound.
Do you have to go into listen mode to do that?
No, you just have to listen for it.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
Yeah, like it's a really subtle sound when you get the right number, and so you don't need the code.
Oh, that's cool.
Granted, I learned about that after the fact, but
yeah. See, I was just thinking like from a puzzle solving perspective because
like
there's only a few safes in the game that actually have puzzles surrounding them, and even then, that's just as easy as go in the other room and find the combination on a wall.
Yeah.
There's one of those that made me upset because I thought I was being real smart with it. It was I don't know if you found the one that's the big win as the combination.
The big win.
So when you're playing as, I think it's Abby, and there's a trailer that you can sneak into, you find a note that says, in this room in this side of this building, there's a safe combination, and the combination to it is the big win. So what my dumbass thought was you were supposed to add up each of, actually, how would you solve this first?
How would I solve it?
Yeah.
So, there's only two. There's only 2 slots.
For this one, there's 3 slots.
Oh, there's 3 slots?
Yeah. Most of them, there's a couple where there's 2. Most of them have 3.
So I would just find the number corresponding to what letter they are. Like like T is, A is 1.
Numerically, you would go down.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I thought it was. And I thought I was being so smart for it. But guess what? We're both wrong.
What?
It's just on a pegboard somewhere.
Oh, boo.
Yeah, it's just a date on a calendar. That was the only one that I had to Google because I thought I was just being a dumbass with numbers.
Yeah.
But it turns out I was being a dumbass the whole time.
It had nothing to do with the numbers.
Yeah, I was like, I'm being so fucking smart. I'm getting my Silent Hill puzzle solving classes on. I'm gonna go solve this fucking puzzle. No.
Yeah. Honestly, I think the safe gameplay is 10 out of 10. So
okay, well, I'm glad that I liked it because I liked getting the supplies for it. I just thought that, for the most part, the saves were just like, if the combination was in the same room, like, why even have it,
Yeah, no, I get that.
Like there were some that were actual puzzles and I enjoyed those, but I just like the ones in Resident Evil 2 because like sometimes like the combination is on the complete opposite side of the map and you'll figure that out.
Yeah, I noticed that when I was looking at a safe. I was looking through the room and I was like, it's not
like,
fucking
it's not in here. What the fuck?
But I'm starting to learn with that game that like it's all about delayed gratification.
Yeah.
and I'm loving it.
That's what Abby got with that one in the
Yeah,
No.
So take notes, Neil Druckmann. Make less shitty games, honestly.
When you make The Last of Us Part 3, give us what we want, man.
Make The Last of Us Part 2 too.
Do you think that this game needs a sequel? Because the first game technically didn't need a sequel, but I'm glad we fucking got it, man.
No, at this point in time, I didn't want a sequel to The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Then I enjoyed the sequel to The Last of Us. Now I don't want a sequel to the sequel of The Last of Us.
Just wait 7 years. When you start to see a new pandemic on the rise, you're going to know.
God damn it, Neil Druckmann.
God damn it.
Brilliant marketing.
All right. have we about covered it?
I think so.
All right. So what would you rate it?
3 out of 10. Worst game I've ever played. No,
if I could give it a negative, I would.
In all honesty, it's a solid 9.5 for me.
9.5. Wow.
Yeah.
That's super high. That's good though.
There are only a few things that I could complain about.
Yeah.
And they are enough to knock it down a half a spot. And I think personally, The Last of Us is a 10. It's a 10 for me.
It's a perfect game.
Even though I have some complaints.
It's the Doolittle of games.
The Doolittle.
That's a Pixies record.
Oh, okay. Actually, I take that back. I think the original Last of Us is about a 9.5 as well.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, how about you?
Well, I know when we first talked about it, I gave it an 8.
Yeah.
Because of that initial playthrough, but after the second one, I did bump it up to a 9 because I did understand it more the second time around.
Okay, yeah.
And most of my feelings that didn't change were just improved.
Yeah, I completely understand that.
Yeah, so, solid 9 out of 10. It's absolutely worth the play, even if it got spoiled, because there's so much more to unpack with the game other than just what's on the surface.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, even going in and understanding the spoilers,
Yeah.
or knowing some spoilers, I didn't understand what any of them meant.
Yeah, and like even in my case, like I said earlier, I psyched myself out, and that actually improved it for me because I was dreading that moment,
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, I guess I do want to say one thing.
Sure.
The game takes narrative risks, and unlike the original Last of Us, The Last of Us has a much tighter story, much tighter and much more focused story.
Yeah.
But me personally, I am such a fan of I'm just a fan of like taking risks
absolutely
in media. And so even though I would say the story isn't as focused, I think a lot of the things they throw up in the air, they end up catching. They don't catch all of them, but the things that they throw up are much more ambitious than The Last of Us even attempted at.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really enjoy it for the risks it takes more than for which ones fail.
Yeah, because for as tight as The Last of Us is, it really is just like a simple like survival story with the twist of parental guidance and humanity and shedding light on that and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely.
But this game takes narrative to a whole new fucking level, and that's ultimately what I don't think people were ready for with it.
No, and I think it depended on what you wanted.
Yeah. Do you think that the game would have been as poorly received by fans had the leaks not come out?
I think at this point, Naughty Dog. I kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but people want a reason to hate Naughty Dog games. Yeah, because they are just on such a hot streak.
Dude, they've been on a hot streak since fucking Crash Bandicoot.
I know.
Their entire career. Like even Jak 3 pushed the envelope as far as like cinematic storytelling went. And that was Jak 3. Like that was, action platformer game with the fucking it had its own little parental story going on, and I love that game so much.
And then, I mean, they pushed the boundary, and the boundary has never been met in kart racing with the original Crash Team Racing.
I'm so fucking upset because Naughty Dog made Crash 1 through 3. Their last Crash game was Crash Team Racing.
Yeah.
They made Jak 1 through 3. They made Jak X Combat Racing. They made Uncharted 1 through 3. Where the fuck is my uncarding at? God damn it.
Uncarding? That's really good.
Probably uncarded.
Uncarded. That's even better.
Uncarded Drake's something.
Well, I think that's what. I think that's Naughty Dog's next game. It's going to be a.
That's their PS5 exclusive.
Their PS5 exclusive.
This is the one that they just got announced they're working on right now.
It's going to be. It's going to be a mashup of Last of Us and Uncharted characters.
I would love to. I would play
but it's going to be a kart racer. Oh yeah.
Like, what better way to come back from a game so visceral than just a chill fucking kart racer?
Well, I mean, if you've never played CTR with me, but that game is anything but chill.
Oh yeah. You probably play CTR the way that one of our buddies plays Mario Kart Double Dash. Like, if you're playing with him, he wins every time. There's no fucking chance. Like, we play it for the fun, knowing that he's gonna win, but we still play it, you know?
Yeah, just last night, one of my good buddies, I've been friends with him since first grade.
Yeah,
we logged on to the CTR remake and played Crash Team Racing for like 4 hours straight. And we weren't using items. It was just about who could run the fastest laps, and it was heated the entire time. But so yeah.
No, this game's fucking fantastic.
Absolutely.
Neil Druckmann and the whole Naughty Dog team knocked it out of the park. I know that this is a small podcast, but Neil, if you ever want to talk, man, my door's wide open.
Yeah.
not to you know.
Mine is too, except
fuck it, whatever.
My door's open too, but please make less shitty games. Like, it's all
make more games that aren't 0 out of 10. Neil. I'm kidding. I fucking love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think are we done here now? Finally?
I think so.
Oh god, we talked so long.
Yeah,
this is gonna be so much fun to edit.
Oh, I'm glad I got to do the fun part then.
Man, thank you so much for being over here. I absolutely love this conversation. I'm glad I got to talk about this game just in full and unload the entire fucking thing.
Yeah, me too.
Anyone who somehow stuck around this long, thank you so much for doing it. I hope you consider checking out this channel in the future and checking out Michael, because dude, my man over here is such a good musician. You don't even know.
I wouldn't go that far, but
no, you don't even know.
But I do want to make one final plug. So
go for it.
If you are listening to this and you somehow don't tune in to my Tuesday evening radio stream, I've got 3 episodes left because I'm done with it, and then I'm going on to something new.
He's fucking sick of it.
I almost
the radio business is dead.
I love doing it, but man, at the end of the day, I'm just like, I'm done listening to dance music. I'm ready to go through my acoustic folk phase.
Yeah, you got to lose 2 fingers for that.
No, that's my gypsy jazz phase. No, but I'm not sick of it. I just, all good things need an end.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's better to end on a high anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah.
Thanks guys. Thanks Michael. It's been great. Like, comment, subscribe, whatever the fuck. I don't know how the internet works. I'm just part of it. The internet's weird. Anyway, this is Science Slumber Party, or should I say Science Slumber Pals, episode 1. We're signing off. You guys have a wonderful evening.
Peace.
Just play the game. Peace.